Town of Selectmen's, Board of Selectmen's meeting, August 22nd, 2017, 6 p.m. We're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's already happened.
Okay.
Watch the cord, Bob.
Yes.
Okay.
Watch the cord.
Charlie, you might want to make an announcement about recording the meeting for open meeting.
Yes, good point. Just so you know, this meeting is being recorded. It is also being broadcast, so as pertaining to the open meeting law. Good, Jim, I forgot about it, to be quite candid. Actually, what's got my attention is the passing of a town resident that I've known and considered a dear friend for a long time. John Garsko, who was our highway superintendent and quite a leader in town for a long, long time. He did a lot of work to create the roadway systems in our community. He did a lot of work with our parks and everything else. He passed away there a couple of weeks ago, and I'd like to take a moment and just remember him. Okay, I'm now going to move on with...
I just want to mention, too, that he's also a World War II hero.
Yes. I'm going to change the agenda a little bit because people from the Cemetery Commission and people with concerns have schedules that they need to go to other meetings. So what I'd like to do first is call upon Barbara Schmidt, who had concerns about the cemetery, to approach the podium, please.
First, I'd like to say thank you for having me here. And I know the cemetery comes under the auspices of the Cemetery Commission.
Just introduce yourself and just where you live.
Oh, excuse me. Barbara Schmidt, 4 Cheryl Lane. This summer, the cemetery was in the worst condition I have ever seen it. It is disrespectful to our veterans, our deceased family members, and I brought pictures so people could see, the board in particular, how very bad this was. In all the years I have been in town, I have never seen it in the state that it was in. You know, mowing the lawn or the cemetery once a month, once every 6 weeks, when it's a hayfield, it is not acceptable. I have never seen it like this before. It is certainly in wonderful condition at the moment. And I would just like to know that it will not be in this state again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. It was brought to our attention by you and others. Does the Cemetery Commission have anything they'd like to say to this?
My name is Judith Miller-Conlin. I'm chair of the Cemetery Commission. I live at 10 Douglas Road in Southampton. And thank you, Barbara, for your concerns. We're concerned, too. We'd love to have it look the way it looks right now all the time. But the work is done by the Highway Department, and they're stretched pretty thin. They have a lot of places that they have to cut. And would that we could be the number one issue that they're going to deal with, the number one place that they were going to mow. It's just not realistic, and I wish they could. I hope next year they'll be able to do at least one more mowing, and we're certainly in conversation. We'll be in conversation with them for that. So I tell you, we're trying, and we love it. We love the cemetery too, but I'm sorry that it got to a point where it upset you. And
I had to mow it myself. As you look at it, it was over 18 inches high.
I know there were times in the summer where it got really, really high, that and the rain, things that we really can't control. But we'll certainly try with the highway department to see if we can get at least one more mowing in next summer. Does that help at all? Okay. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks.
There is also a complaint about some flowers that got mowed over. Do you
I
have
did,
that complaint?
I did see that there were some hostas that got mowed over next to a flat marker,
Mhm.
and I can see how that could happen, you getting those big machinery and a flat marker in the hostas. I apologize for that. I don't think they did it on purpose.
No,
but
nobody
I
did
know
anything.
Nobody would
We
do it
know
on purpose.
that.
It just,
No,
you know,
I know.
it just happens. I
Would
know I've
you-
mowed some things down in my yard. that I
You should be kind enough to contact that resident and talk to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did get a copy of his letter
Okay.
today, so we'll follow through on that.
Okay,
Charlie, I just have a question.
sure.
How many times a year do they normally mow the cemetery?
I'm not sure how many. Do you know, Bob? Robert? About 6? Yeah, about 6.
It
Yeah.
was 6 weeks or more between the mowing from Memorial Day to the next mowing.
You're saying, I'm repeating this because there's a microphone, that there was 6 weeks or more
Correct.
time period that it wasn't
Correct.
mowed. I mean, the other side of this is if you watch the farmers, they're having a difficult time harvesting their hay this year because it's been raining so much. It's a strange year. If you were looking at last year, we had a drought. Nobody was mowing their lawns.
Right, you didn't have to mow as much last year. You're absolutely right,
Now,
yeah.
how was this funded? Was there money at one time in the cemetery commission that we gave to the highway department?
It used to be funded through, we would have a budget, and then we would pay out of that budget. Now it's done strictly through the highway department, and it's their purview. They take care of
And
it.
that's what I'm getting at. If we transferred money to the highway department, they should be taking care of it because
Yes.
that funding. So we
Yes.
need to talk to Randall because that's obviously more than a few weeks worth of growth. I mean, from the table, it's up here.
Yeah, especially with the rains that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is certainly aware of this.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So we've only mowed it, what, once this year? Is that what it looks like? How many times has it been mowed this year?
Oh, goodness, twice before Memorial Day, and I'd say maybe 4 times total, Robert? Does that sound right? I think 4.
4 times.
Or
Four,
normally
yeah.
you do 5 or 6, so you missed a couple mowings? I'm just trying to understand. You can talk to Randall.
That the rain this year has made everything.
So,
But I think they're right. Out of respect for the people that are buried there and the families, we need to, that's like walking in a field.
right, okay.
We would love to see it done more often. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara, did you, okay.
So we can follow up.
Yeah, I've already spoken to Randall about this as soon as this got on my plate and I came back.
Okay.
You know, that's, and as you can see, it's been mowed and addressed already, so now it's just maintaining it.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And Barbara, on the lighter side, good to see you. All right, now let's go back to the agenda. We have an appointment for Jacqueline Sears. Is there a Jacqueline Sears here? Does she have somebody that's endorsing her? A memo from the bylaws committee saying that we think that she should be appointed to the bylaws committee. It's my understanding also that you need at least 2 more members to be able to round out your committee. So if anybody's listening to this, please consider getting on the bylaw committee. It's a very critical committee in town that needs to have members. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to appoint Jacqueline Sears to the Bylaws Committee.
Second.
Discussion?
No, just thank you for volunteering.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Congratulations.
He says that with a grin, Jackie.
We're going to have more fun bantering things. We have a guest here, Stephen.
Charlie, Mr. Wazalowski called the office today to say he would not be able to attend tonight.
Okay. I just want to give everybody sort of an idea of what that was all about. He was asking if Southampton and Easthampton could partner up to reestablish the fireworks that used to take place in Easthampton. He was looking at approaches for that. So I explained to him the best thing was to come to the board to discuss it. I mean, and I was very blunt. I said, I don't see any general revenue that we could use for that. I don't know what Easthampton's opinion is on that, but I want to give him an opportunity to explain to the town that this was something he'd like to see coming back.
And he didn't put any cost or anything in there, so we
No,
really don't know what
we
it
don't.
is.
You know, he was supposed to be bringing things, but
So want to reschedule him for another meeting?
I think the best thing to do is if he cancels, let's wait until he has to come back.
Okay,
You know,
I don't expect him
that's
to
fair.
come back.
you know, I don't want to put him on the agenda and then just keep putting him on the agenda for the sake of, okay. Reports of the selectmen. Mr. Labrie, you had something on Bobcat Hollow?
Yeah, the select board, well, let me back up a little bit. Bobcat Hollow, which is Bissonnet Circle, I believe. That road has been completed and it was voted on at the town meeting and was accepted. Then a deed was forwarded to the select board. We got that signed with one possibility of an error. It referred to a plan on it. I double-checked the plan and it was wrong, so we got that fixed. We now have a road conveyance plan. That has been recorded. It is done. It is now a town road. Just wanted to pass that along to everybody, so,
So we'll be plowing it this year as a town road.
yes.
That's good news.
That now opens the next question. We have a town vote authorizing the selectmen to designate non-town roads for plowing. We need to create a list of what these streets are. Does the board wish to take and instruct the highway superintendent to provide us with the list he proposes?
If you need a motion, I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
We had a couple streets when we went to the town meeting. Bissonnet was one of them, and there was only, what, 2 more on that?
There's
Yes.
Wallace Road,
Yep.
there's,
Wallace, Bass Cove Road.
Bass Cove Road.
And the other one was Brickyard Road Extension that we always thought was a
Right.
public road. We couldn't find any documentation saying it was, so we should just add that to the list to be safe.
So if he can take that list and update it for us, so we'll
That's-
know.
that's what I'm looking at. That way we can do a formal
Yeah.
vote on this and
Yeah.
put this issue aside.
Right, there was a few down in the ponds area. When you get to the end of one of the roads, they turn into a private road, but he has to turn his truck around. He may drive a little bit onto a private road, but we can talk about that, I
Yeah,
guess,
I
as
mean,
well.
we had one
but-
down at the Hampton Ponds that they were upset that he didn't plow, and the reason he
Right.
didn't plow is the power line dropped.
Couldn't get in there,
He
yeah.
couldn't get in there as soon as they raised the power line.
One
There's
of them-
always gonna be something that, you know,
So basically, we're not looking to expand any roads. It's just
what we've been
Legally-
doing.
plowing the ones that we're plowing.
Right, but let's get a current list, so that way we know.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bob?
Just tell me what the motion is, sorry, I'm not familiar with what this new.
To instruct the highway superintendent to provide the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting a list of private roads or non-public roads that he feel warrants being plowed by the town, as have been done in the past.
If you're phrasing it that way, should we also ask if there's roads he feels shouldn't be plowed? I mean, I'm interested in all private roads, so if he's got an opinion either way, I guess it'd be a good time to have it,
Fine by me, I mean,
yeah. Because that may be, like you said, one of the roads south.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
I think that means my street won't be plowed anymore. Because he'll think it shouldn't be. Okay. Next thing. The Agricultural Committee has put together a very nice brochure, Town of Southampton, of all the different farms in town and the services and activities they provide. These brochures are floating around town, numerous areas. There are also a web link to the town from the town website if people would like to see those. I don't know if the cameraman can zoom in on this. Hint. But there they are, if you have an interest. I think it's very well constructed, put together by Tom Bashista, and it has quite a bit of farms in town that people are not aware of actually have services in town. Everything from fruits to vegetables to chickens to horses to cattle. That aside, I think we'll move now, unless there's any other selectmen's reports, to the town administrator's report.
Hey, thank you. I was given a peach today from one of the farm stands in town. It was outstanding.
You took a bribe? Is that what I'm hearing?
Took it, yes, I took it. I think it costs less than $50, but
Right.
I know prices are going up, so I'm allowed to do it legally. Our document management and online permitting project is moving forward. As you know, this is grant funded. We had a technology audit, which is required from Acuity on August the 14th. We're still looking for membership in a technology advisory committee, which would receive the report and, constitute long-term institutional knowledge of what we need and oversee year-by-year improvements in our technology system. So we've got some department heads that have volunteered, but we still need more who are interested. It's a technology advisory committee. It's already been approved by the selectmen, but we're looking for membership at this point. Also, again, we're looking for a chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. Since the former chair Hank Barton has resigned, we don't have a new chair for that yet.
Oh.
And clearly that's a committee that keeps track of progress and tries to spur progress towards implementation of the master plan.
Now, Bob, I'm on that committee, and I don't know off the top of my head when the next meeting is, but if it's not scheduled, we should schedule it so the members can select the chair
Oh,
from
okay.
from the group.
All right.
That'd be the easiest way, I think.
Okay. Also, special town meeting date. If you follow the pattern of last year, it looks like Tuesday, the 17th of October would be in line with the way you've done it in the past. But you haven't set the date at this point.
Would the board like to set the date?
Let's see what we got.
All right, with me.
It's
It's
okay with
okay with
me.
you?
Yeah.
Good with you?
Good with me.
Good with you?
Sure.
So we have a quorum of selectmen, so I'm all set.
You're not going to be around?
No,
Oh.
it's just academic. If the
Not
three of
going
you
back
are
to
all set,
Alaska.
then, Do I hear a motion to set that date?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay. If you look at the end of the selectmen's agenda, you'll see quite a shopping list of proposed articles that are developing. That doesn't mean they're all going to end up at that town meeting, but be aware. What we're trying now to keep it as an open form of government is to give everybody an insight as to all the different requests that are coming into this board for articles and issues. Anything else, Bob?
Yes, we're on track to file our application to be certified as a green community. The application is due by Halloween, October 31st, and we're working with the Hampden County Council of Governments on the energy requirements, that is to say, set your benchmark and lay out a plan to save 20% on energy over the period of time, and also with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to help prepare the paperwork for the application, which is fairly extensive. I expect that we will file it on time, and as you know, we've been told by the director of the program that we should qualify, that we've met all the 5 standards to qualify as a green community, and then make the town eligible to receive grants for energy-saving improvements to our buildings.
Once the application is in, how long does it take to get officially certified?
I don't know the answer to that. Not long,
Okay.
but I would think by the end of the year, we should have something from them, so. Also, the Lieutenant Governor's Office announced the third year for the Community Compact Program. Communities that have not applied in fiscal 17 are eligible to apply in fiscal 18. The town of Southampton applied in fiscal 16 for 3 of these grants. That's the maximum that you can apply for. And they've been coming in. In fact, you're going to be, I guess, wrapping up the classification and compensation study at your September meeting with the Finance Committee. But I would recommend that we apply for a grant in this new round, and what a number of communities are doing that I think would certainly improve process as well as the amount of information provided to the public is that they are using the grant funds to upgrade their budget document to include a wide variety of information about the town's finances, as well as how the town gets its money and how they spend their money. I did send electronic copies. I picked out one sample. That's the town of Northborough, and sent you an electronic copy of their budget document. They get, the objective is to get the so-called Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. 24 Massachusetts communities out of 351 have received this. It takes some time. It's not that hard, but it's time-consuming. And clearly, I think it would be a feather in the cap for the town if we were able to do it, as well as providing a wealth of information. If you've had a chance to look at it, I just sent it today. If you've had a chance to look at it, a wealth of information about the community that is useful in a whole variety of ways. So if you have other suggestions, certainly I'll see what the board wants to do, but if there are no other recommendations for another community compact grant, I think I could process a grant for you here. They have a rolling process which starts now, so we'd have to get this thing in soon. And
Bob, do you know whether or not the communities that applied for this and were awarded the grant, first of all, do you know how much the grant's for? And did they put together a committee of treasurer, accountant, various finance folks, and that group works on this, or is it enough to be able to hire somebody to spearhead it?
You certainly have to have a small group to spearhead it. The money will vary. I've seen as little as $5,000. I've seen as high as $20,000 from the Commonwealth. And for that, you hire someone who is basically a consultant. And there are 3 or 4 in the state who go around to the various communities and help them with this. Some have suggested that the whole program is a full employment program for consultants. Nevertheless, it's a program. Communities are getting this money. We should get our share. And while I think any town administrator ought to be able to do that, it's very time-consuming. They wouldn't have a chance, really, to spend time on anything else. But once you get the template, then updating it annually is not very difficult at all. Mm-hmm. So, but clearly, interviewing, it would be almost like a process of finding a new town administrator. You want to see who's out there, interview them, pick one, get them started, have them report to a small internal group regularly, and that would certainly include the accountant, probably the treasurer collector, maybe the assessor, and your administrator, and maybe some members of the select board if they wanted to. But
I see the author on the page 1 is town administrator.
yeah, they've had this for 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And so he's updated the original version, and he's taking credit for it. But,
Are you looking for an endorsement of this board to proceed with this application?
yeah, I think if we're going to do anything in this third round, it's good to get it underway as soon as possible. Maybe you don't have to endorse it now if you don't want to, but very soon, because it's a rolling process, and they do run out of money. So it's on a first-come basis, and we've had 3, and we may as well take advantage of another round.
Does
What
the-
other types of, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Does the application require us to hire a consultant, or after we get the grant, then we hire somebody?
Only if you get the grant.
Okay, because if the consultant costs us 5,000 and we
No,
get a
no,
grant
no,
for
no,
10, okay.
Grant first, and then
Okay.
get professional
There was nothing to
assistance.
lose by filling out the
Nothing to
application.
lose, absolutely nothing to lose.
Bob, you mentioned there may be some other grants in this area that we might be interested in. Do you know what those are?
One is on regionalization. I don't know that we need one there. I think the town has made some good progress with that. Certainly this most recent association with the city of Easthampton on conservation agent. We've got relationships with Westfield for animal control. If you want to move farther with that, they'll give you some money to plan for, and that's how this whole conservation agent thing came. It came to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to do a regionalization project. And the last one is IT, but I think we're making progress on IT separately. And by the way, that's also a grant. It wasn't given to the town, it was given to 5 towns. And the grantor, the grantee is technically the town of Williamsburg. They applied in the name of 5 communities to get this, I think, $55,000 grant that's going to assist with electronic document management and so forth. So this money is out there, and various entities are getting it, including towns, and so.
If we went after another grant for IT, would that include equipment, or is that just the survey study type of money? 'Cause we
I'm
could
not
use-
aware of anybody getting equipment. I'm aware that they get the money, they do a survey of what's needed, and they do a very extensive, actually, in another situation, I had money, and we hired a fellow from the region, Bernie Kubiak, to come and do an assessment of the IT system, the hardware and the software, and to make recommendations. What they do is they recommend what you should do over 5 years, not just buy Microsoft Office. They'll say, this is what you need to do, it's going to cost this much money, and here's a period of time to do it in. So I think that we're going to get the equivalent of that when we get this audit that was done by Acuity on the 14th of August. So I think we're also we'll have enough information to know what should go into the budget process to continue to upgrade the town's IT equipment and software.
Do I hear a motion to recommend or instruct the town administrator to apply for this grant?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I just wanted, Michael, I'm just wondering if you've had a chance to look at what he's referring to? Just curious.
Michael Rosenberg, 144 East Street, Finance Committee. We talked about this before, I think, correct? We talked about the
A number of months ago, I might have
Yeah.
mentioned that I had this in mind, that I thought it'd be an interesting thing for the town to
so
apply
we went over
for.
that as kind of a goal.
Yeah.
In terms of the information, I don't think we've been copied on it, so I don't have an opinion, I haven't seen it. So, I mean, it sounds great.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with it. What came Monday, or maybe it was at the end of last week, was a message from the lieutenant governor who was running this program at the state level, saying application process is open. So that's why we're
What is the official name of this grant again?
Community Compact Program.
It's right here in our,
Got it, okay.
Yeah, and if you, All the information about it is, you just Google Community Compact MA, and it gives you an up-to-date on what's been done, tells you all the communities that have received grants and so forth. You can get through it in 10 minutes and really be up to speed.
Well, the whole point of this is to educate the public about the budgeting
Yes.
process.
Right.
To the point where they even, I didn't read the whole thing, obviously, we just got it today, and it's 2 inches thick. But what it does do, it even gives you suggestions on how to read this.
Yes, yes.
Starting with this appendix, and then, so it's, the whole point of it is public education.
If the town can get to this, anyone who is unhappy and claims that there's no transparency, I think this is the answer. Here it is. This is everything you would ever want to know about about the town finances in this town.
Sounds good. One thing, it was a topic a minute ago. You talked about regionalization and possibility for grants. So one thing we've seen here is a turnover rate in some of the departments, some of the inspection services departments. I don't know if it's regionalization or if it's more resource sharing from town to town, if any of that could be applied to help fill some of these gaps we have. I mean, we have resignations of employees, our health agent has resigned, if there's a way to capitalize on some of the grant funding to fund a regional resource sharing opportunity there, it's worth it. I mean, we're going through this constant cycle of losing employees and finding new employees and having gaps.
That's what this IT project is about, by the way. It's a regional, 5-community regional sharing program. It's an example of using that money for that purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Similar to the conservation agent, it's if you can share with a neighboring town, it's more lucrative for the person to stay in the position.
So going along with what Mike's saying, what if we put an application in for the regionalization, and regionalization can mean anything? I mean, we can define it the way we want.
And some people are scared of the word regionalization, but resource sharing, something to, it's sort of a Hilltown agreement where you have.
Yeah, high level, they think police and fire, but there's so much under that I think we're talking about.
Well, let me ask this. There's a motion on the floor to endorse this.
This one, yeah.
If you vote on that, then we can just continue this discussion with the regionalization.
Well, but there's an opportunity to fill out an application for a grant.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you have a motion on the table right now.
Yeah, so it's clear.
It's the discussion.
Yeah.
So you vote on that motion,
Yep.
and then we continue the discussion to see if you're gonna have another motion to
No,
move for regionalization.
I agree.
I don't wanna see this board going in 3 different directions at the same time, and then the clerk goes to me and say, what did they say?
So I think the chair should call the vote.
But I think we have to have a discussion about options before we can decide on the original motion.
Well, this is for one particular application, is what Charlie's saying.
Oh, okay.
That's only for this.
So one's not contingent upon the other, we don't have only one opportunity here?
That's right.
We can apply
Trying
for
to
all 3, is what
separate
you're
this.
saying, if we wanted?
Right.
Right, is that correct, Bob? We could apply for all 3 if we wanted?
I'm not certain we can apply for all 3 again. I know we can apply for one, see if we can, I think what we're going to have to do if we want to seek out regionalization money is to have an idea of what services we want to regionalize. In other words, we're going to have to justify, we'd have to justify a grant. And before we can do that, I know what we want to do with the budget. I don't know what the board would want to do in terms of regionalization.
I think what Charlie said, so if we vote on this, close it, we talk about regionalization, and if we go with an application there, we can then prioritize our applications.
Right. We could prioritize this as number 1,
Right.
then we can maybe look for a second.
I want the minutes to reflect solid votes on solid topics,
Yep.
not, you have a motion, you have a second, you've had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, but I would like to make this a priority 1 over the other ones.
That'll we discuss.
So I just want to,
That'll come.
okay, so I will vote for this.
I just wanted to be clear that it's reasonable, in spite of the depth of this, it's reasonable for the existing staff to be able to submit this.
Now, this would be done with a grant-funded
Right,
advisor
but the
or
application,
consultant, yes.
It's reasonable that the application can be done.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
Yes.
I'm going to do
Aye.
it. I'm going to do it. I can do it in half an hour.
Oh,
So it's not an elaborate grant process.
Okay.
But you need to know where you want to go. That's what I'm just saying about regionalization. If we can come up with some departments or some
I did call the
services
vote.
that we want to regionalize,
So
then
we have a unanimous vote anyways
We
on
have a
that one.
unanimous vote.
Aye.
It's moved. As a favor, Bob, please copy the Finance Committee on this material so that Mike has an opportunity to peruse through it. The next issue, because Mike is here, was to discuss a grant application relative to regionalization.
So it just a little more private, it just kind of rung a tone. We just signed some PCFs for resignations. We've always had departments that have turnover. We can think about what's going on today. The Council of Aging, they could use a shared resource help in there. The assessors, the health department, building department. There's areas in town that could use help, and if it's grant funding, if there's a way to make it lucrative to keep full-time employees here, then that's the way to go.
I don't think we're talking about any specific areas to regionalize. We just want to explore the possibilities. So we got to fill out an application for a grant first.
How about Bob and Mike get together, put this together and bring it back at the next selectmen's meeting so we actually have something tangible as to where we're going with this topic of regionalization.
So come up with some 4Fs.
Well, four ifs.
Yeah, do they classify groups? I mean, is there a group that would fit? You know what I mean? If they have a group for emergency, a group for town government, I don't know how they group these things together. Maybe you would fit with one of those.
you have to find at least one partner. That's not so easy because we have a city over here.
Right.
We have a
There's
city to the
over
north.
there, There's a city over there.
Right, and a city to the south. And so we would certainly be the junior partner in that kind of arrangement.
Or Westhampton.
Unless we went with the
would be a
people that are
senior
part of the Hampshire Regional School District.
Yeah.
Hampshire
So
Regional
there's
School, but-
opportunities. so-
Actually, the one thought that I have, since we have had the key turned in by our former emergency management director, is that perhaps that might be one place to explore to begin with, to see if we could find a cooperative arrangement with another community for an emergency management director.
Is that where your biggest hole is, though? That's what I would ask. Is that where your biggest hole is in the town? And I would say probably no.
That's why I'm saying I think it'd be better to just table this for now and have you two.
Well, I would ask that a member of the select board be there as well. I mean, we're on the finance committee. We are not the managers of the town. You are the executive board, so.
He's the manager of the town. We are the executive board. You're correct. He would be sitting on there to discuss this.
But
as
the
the
idea of one of us on there, I think when you set up the meetings, just let us know when, and
Would the grant cover like a needs assessment of regional possibilities?
Yeah, I mean, we might,
So we wouldn't have to partner with someone, we could actually do a needs assessment, and that could get funded, and we could look at all these different opportunities or possibilities.
good idea.
one of the ways that works well, I think, is to have a third party doing it. This shared conservation agent really was put together, the initiative was put together by PVPC. We had some issues with that, but nevertheless, they were the ones that sought the grant and put it together. Among other things, if we're looking to move ahead, I would want to talk with them and want to talk even with HCOG to see what they have been doing, if anything, along those lines, to assist. And yeah, I know there's some really interesting things going on in other parts of the Commonwealth. In fact, Hamilton and Wenham are considering merging as a result of this activity. So, I mean, that's how far it's gone in some places. In other places, it's the merging and sharing of services. I know that there are fire departments and police departments that are now sharing. So
We brought that up before.
there are opportunities, very hard to do, very hard to do.
Is it Lennox that just started sharing their town manager with a neighboring town, I think, as well?
Yeah. I
There's a
think it
town,
was.
there are two towns that are doing that in central Mass as well.
Okay, so it sounds anyways, there's opportunity, so let's put that committee together and talk about it.
Okay?
That'll move it out of here.
Sure. Sorry to create more work.
That was a good idea, thanks.
You know, Mike, don't run away, because
I'm not running.
you're not on the agenda, but you should have been.
I thought he was for the bylaws, no?
No, I don't think so. Is he on the
I
bylaws?
did- What I did was I put Finance Committee articles, if that's what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
Yeah.
On our town, it's actually on the agenda, but I didn't put him down or Mike down as a separate item.
All right,
So
well-
I
In the
thought,
parking lot.
I thought when we
Evidently.
got
well, I'm going
to,
to take you out of the parking lot in a minute here. I'm just trying to figure out where to place you.
I just thought when we got to reviewing what we have now for town meeting articles, since they've submitted two, that would come up, then he
Oh,
would. he would
And that's
address-
fine. I just didn't know.
That's the way I looked at it.
Just trying to
Okay.
keep everybody in the loop here.
Last time I have, the highway superintendent and I have met several times with Fuss and O'Neill to discuss some potential opportunities for wastewater treatment. Not sewering, but what used to be called package plants, and some grants that are available now from the Commonwealth. And certainly we're aware of MS4 requirements, issues around Hampton Ponds, as well as any efforts by the town to do more economic development along Route 10. So I've asked Charlie today, and on September 12th, we'll have them in here prior to our meeting to give you a briefing as to what we've been talking about. So, but it won't be on the agenda. It'll just be an informal briefing beforehand. Upcoming selectmen meeting, Chair and I talked, and he has scheduled meetings for September 12th and 26th. Department head meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. We got a message today from Mass DOT saying that there'll be a meeting on Thursday at 2 p.m. at the Norris School to discuss the Safe Streets to School program. Bit of a late notice, but that's when it came. So that's 2 o'clock Thursday, Norris School, Safe Streets to Schools update. That message actually came because the highway superintendent sent them a message saying, we have no information, people are asking, what can you tell us? And so whether they just simply scheduled a meeting as a result of that, or one was scheduled beforehand, this is when it's going to be discussed. So
Thursday, 2 o'clock.
Thursday, 2 o'clock, Norris School.
And just to clarify for people that don't know, this is the Route 10 project.
The Route 10
It goes from Opa down to Cumberland Farms.
Right. And, well, the last item I have, we have agreed in September at our meeting, first meeting, to review the classification compensation study in a joint meeting with the Finance Committee. That's all I have.
Yeah, Personnel Board's going to be in this too?
Personnel Board also, yes.
Okay. All right, any other reports from the Select Board?
Did we take a vote on the regional grant?
No,
Do we
because
need
they're
to?
going to bring back the
Okay.
information, so we actually have something to vote
Okay.
on. I mean, the concept everybody's agreeing with, it just, we need a little more substance.
Mhm.
All right, old business, Charter Communication Building has been moved into executive session. ZHB report, which sounds like a mysterious thing here. The discussion is the East Street Bridge. There was a meeting today with myself and the highway superintendent and the engineer from VHB to discuss the cost of doing that bridge, not the roadways, just the bridge. I'm going to try to do this slowly so that everybody grabs this, because I didn't have time to put any charts together. The projected cost of building that bridge is going to be somewhere between $1,450,000-$1,600,000. Out of that, we just applied for a grant for $1 million to the state. That leaves us with approximately $470,000 to come up with. Now, out of that The money we need in the next 6 months is about $160,000, and that's for the engineering work that has to be done before July 1st so construction can happen. We have presently about $50,000 in reserve in our Chapter 90 money, and we have also allocated $150,000 to purchase temporary easements on Glendale Road to take and do that project, which should start, the paperwork should start with the easements, I'm hoping, by September, October. That means that we have about $200,000 sitting out there that has some allocations. We don't know what the bottom number is. We have a need for $160,000. What we're looking at is having the town put at town meeting a motion for a short-term borrowing of about $110,000, so that if we do not end up with enough money left over from that other project, we can keep this going with a short-term note. So the board's going to see that as one of the articles that we need to put on for town meeting. It's entirely possible that by the time we get to October 17th at town meeting, we'll have a firm number on the monies that we've used for the easements and that we have enough money that we don't need to even pass that article. We're just going to pass over it. But because of a time frame of posting articles and stuff like that, and to ensure that this moves forward, we're going to need to have that article there. By contrast, we just did a short-term borrowing for Cook Road of the tune of over $300,000, and within 30 days, the state turned over that money, and that short-term note's being closed out. This does happen. It's part of our business as a town. The other short of, and it's not short, but the other money we have to come up with is about $300,000. We don't need to come up with that money until July. That also happens to be very close to the amount of money we get in Chapter 90 money in April to July. So what we should be able to do is take that money from our Chapter 90 account that comes in and pay off that as it moves forward. So we're not touching the general fund at all.
That'll clear our Chapter 90 money.
It will clear our, this will be the project of next year for Chapter 90 money.
Yeah, just leaves no reserve, but
It leaves no reserve. The roadways in and of themselves are what they call TIP programs. They are behind the bridge project. They're not on the TIP schedule right now, so it could be a couple of years before they get on there, maybe 3. But the bridge is what's been holding this up for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years. So everyone's laughing at me, but it has been. So we are basically putting our resources into getting that bridge resolved so that we can do this roadway.
yeah, I guess my only concern is if we have any dire road repairs. I mean, Randall forecasts some roads that he wanted to do next year with this money, if I remember correctly. So we got to make sure there's nothing in there that we have to do and figure out where we get the money.
Right. But I'm basically giving you guys all a report of what happened today with the discussions with the engineers. We obviously don't have to make the motion for the article tonight.
Right.
But bear in mind, you're probably looking at an article for short-term borrowing for about $110,000.
And Charlie, the grant we applied for, when do we expect to hear?
My understanding, that grant we may hear around town meeting time in October.
So basically, if we do not get the grant, then of course we wouldn't be spending the $300,000 next year.
That's right. If we didn't get the grant, we wouldn't spend the $300,000. And if we didn't get the grant, we're gonna have to make a hard decision if we're gonna move forward with the engineering work.
Right, but we have to be close. We have to get that all lined up because what I understand is Mass Works, they want shovel-ready projects. They don't want
Has
us
to
to
be ready
get
for
the grant and then say, oh, we gotta start engineering this. We're gonna.
We gotta get the engineering going.
Right, the engineering has to be done up front, but the $300,000 on top of that, which would be our share of that project, we don't have to if it's not approved.
That's right.
I mean, should we also look at long-term borrowing? Because we're gonna have the engineering study. We need to do the road. So if we don't get the grant, should we look at long-term borrowing and get it done anyways? I mean, that's a bottleneck there. It's, you know, dangerous.
If we were to look at long-term borrowing of over $1 million, that would be something that would come up at the annual town meeting.
Sure.
We will know by then if we got the grant.
That's, I mean, do we have to plan ahead?
But if I was to weigh the difference between the bridge or fire station, I think I'd go with the fire station at this point. I know the bridge, I know it looks really bad, and they say it's cosmetic. Structurally, they say it's good underneath. So knowing that, I think I'd lean towards,
Yeah, if we have to make priorities.
that's.
Those decisions will be coming to you down the road.
It's not pretty.
No
and
pun
it's-
intended.
Don't
That
encourage them.
came across pretty good, didn't it?
Don't encourage them.
Robert, please.
Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. Before I leave now, just so that we're on the same page, as I understand it, we have 2 scheduled Board of Selectmen meetings before you post for the special town meeting.
One for sure.
12th and the 26th.
Right.
And then it needs to be posted by the 3rd, because it's a 2-week notice,
So
because
the
it's a special
26th. Yeah.
on the 17th. Okay,
Yeah, so the 26th.
okay,
And by then, something like this, we should have,
more information.
yeah.
All right, good night, cheers.
Good night.
Do we have to have the warrant complete?
If we can get it complete for the 23rd of September, we should be fine for posting.
Okay.
You open on the 12th, close on the 24th. I will have it up to date for you on the 26th.
And
Okay,
And if we end up having to have a special
May have
selectmen's
to have
meeting
another
just to
meeting.
sign the warrant, so be it,
that's fine, yeah.
It's fine.
you know. Follow me, Rainey?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the bylaw that I read that said, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's more, if
weeks
town
for
meeting's
special.
October 17th or 12th,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was, but anyways,
17th.
Yeah, Robert
Uh,
keeps us on
So,
track.
yeah, we'll
Plenty.
well, you know, that's part of his job is to do that.
That was a plus, I was
You know,
saying.
I like that, you know. Any other questions about the bridge?
No.
A lot of time and effort's going into this. My hope is we get this thing resolved.
So no action needed at this point.
No, this was just information, so everybody understood what was happening with this. There's no action necessary. There will be, but not now. Joint session with bylaw committee. Did you get sworn in?
I was just gonna ask, yeah. Did you get sworn in? So you're not,
Well-
you're not a member yet?
Yes.
You can go next
She over
door.
You better go next door and get sworn in. We don't want you to hear anything you shouldn't hear.
So is there a quorum of the bylaw committee without her?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah. That's why she's got to leave.
All right, hello, everyone. Velda Goldberg, 26 Caitlin Way, Bylaws Committee. Last week, we sent you our drafts of revised Articles 3, 4, and 5. I'm assuming tonight, I know this is a really packed meeting for you, and you probably don't want to spend a lot of time on these tonight, but we just wanted to make sure that you got them and we can get at them soon, if not this meeting, then the next meeting. So there are those 3 articles, and then the other thing that you were sent last week was a draft of 2 new articles that we're proposing. One is, both have to do with committees. We have many different names for groups in town, so we're calling them group, but they're committees, commissions, boards, councils, whatever. 2 new articles that would deal with how membership is done on those groups, and also the conducting business procedures for conducting business. A lot of this is routine practice, but it's not really codified, it's not written down, so it would be helpful to have those things written down. So that we will send out, we're going to send a notice this week out to all the boards, committees, whatever, so that they'll have a chance to look at that. We'll put it up on our website, and I'm sure that committees will have a lot to say about that and probably have some good ideas for things ways to change what we have or new things to add or whatever. But we do think that that's an important thing to have in the bylaws. Any questions on?
No, but I would like to take and ask Bob to put on the agenda for our next meeting, that the board take a formal vote on these proposed changes to bylaws. And that way it'll keep moving.
Okay, and just to refresh everyone's memory, the votes that we're taking now, these are tentative votes so that we can put them up on our web page so that people know the select board has taken a first quick glance of it, and this is what you're thinking about right now. So then we'll collect people's comments and feed that all back to you at the end of the process so that you can approve the whole document. So there'll still be plenty of time to make changes, but it's just your first quick look at this.
I made a couple notes in what I received when I read that. Should I just send them to you?
Yes,
Okay.
please. And if anyone, we'll also put them up online, so if other people are watching have comments or want to look at it, we'd love to have the feedback.
Okay.
And if you look at, it's a separate website, so we can easily put things up and collect comments, but if you go to the town website and you go to the bylaws committee, there's a link there to go to the web page. And on that web page, you can easily send us comments. And any comments that we get from anybody, we're going to paste them back up on that web page, so everyone will be able to see what people are saying. Okay, I mean, we feel strongly that that's the only way that this process is, everyone's going to feel good about it at the end, is that there's a chance for lots of communication along the way, because people do get anxious about people thinking about changing the bylaws. And just you mentioned this earlier, Charlie, but the people that were on our committee, initially Virginia Ahart, Francine Tishman, Margaret Larson, and myself, and I think Jim Palermo, am I correct, was also on the committee earlier. Francine had to resign because she has the conflict with the Finance Committee. We were sorry to lose Francine, and Margaret Larson has just had to resign. So we're very glad to have Jackie join us, and we hope that there'll be a couple other people out there who would like to join us.
Can you tell the people out there listening how often you meet and what kind of commitment?
Well, we really like to meet. People haven't been able to meet every week, but that's really what we'd like to do, is meet every week. We've been meeting Thursday mornings at 10 when we meet. So. And if you don't have any questions on that, I have one other thing that I wanted to bring up quickly. It's our assumption on the committee that our charge is to review the bylaws, suggest changes to the existing ones. If people have told us that there are maybe some new articles that should be there, to do that as well. But one other really important function of ours is to look at any changes that committees are making, or that we're making, or anyone is suggesting, to make sure that they're not conflicting with each other. And we have multiple committees and multiple groups and so on, and we don't want, you can't function when there are articles in there that conflict and have two different things. So we've looked at the Finance Committee bylaws. We sent to the Finance Committee our revisions, and then they've sent something back to us. And with quite a few new additions. We haven't had a chance to look at that in its entirety yet. We've started looking at that, but we had to finish some other work we were looking at. And now we're in a bit of a conundrum, because if that is going to go to town meeting, The timing is tight, because in what we didn't realize it was going to town meeting until this week, that was the.
There's
that
no
that was
articles
the.
approved for town
No, it
meeting.
hasn't been approved yet, but I mean, that's the Finance Committee's suggestion, that it be put on the warrant for the next one. And we don't necessarily feel like we have enough time to fully review this, because what we've seen so far, there are conflicting, their proposed bylaw conflicts with the description for the town administrator that you folks have approved. And it was our plan to not only look at the finance committees, but in conjunction with looking at that, to redo the piece in the bylaws about the town administrator and so on in the budgeting process. So we're not going to be able to, to do that by September 23rd, to get that to you and have you, feel good about it and all of that. So I just want to alert you with that.
That was going to come up with the finance and Mike later on in the meeting, but seeing the topic is up here right now, let's discuss this and sort of come to a conclusion. Does everybody on the board understand what this discussion's about? Jim? Finance Committee has, through Mike, has recommended 2 articles. One of those articles has to do with the Finance Committee and financing the budget of the town, so on and so forth. And it has issues relative to the town administrator's position, as well as the scope of responsibility with the Finance Committee. This just came forward. Mike, I want to give Mike a minute to sort of explain where this is coming from. And I hear what you're saying about your board needing to review this, but if we're going to start, I'd much rather have everybody at the same time and not.
Sure. So Michael Rosenberg, Finance Committee, 144 East Street. We had proposed 2 bylaw changes that we would like to have voted on at this special town meeting. One is relation to the scheduling of the town meeting and the annual election, which we can talk about after. It makes great sense. Everyone's on board. I think a lot of it comes down to figuring out the right dates for the article. The second was the new Finance Committee bylaw. So we had been working on revising our bylaw. The revisions are based on practice in town. So whatever the new town administrator or the revised town administrator job responsibilities are, we aren't really aware of that, so we base it off of what was going on today, what we've done historically. One of the major changes in there, which we had talked about, was the Finance Committee members being able to participate on other committees, commissions, ad hoc groups as voting or non-voting members, dependent on the charter of the group. And we felt it was imperative for us to be able to participate in those. There's a lot of committees that talk about major projects in town and don't have a representative of the Finance Committee on there. I think it's important for us to be there, whether voting or not, but be allowed to sit in and, and participate in that. Another reason for that is because we have members that like to actively participate. Francine not being a part of the PQB it's very tough. She likes the work they do in there. She liked working with the groups. She liked being actively involved, and we basically had to resign from all those positions. As much as I liked the free time I have this summer from resigning from the 2 I was on, I would like to be on the Public Safety Committee as I was. Those are places where we should really be working together, department and department, and trying to come up with those and allowing us to participate is very important. In regards to the differences between the Finance Committee proposed bylaw and the town administrator job description and other job descriptions that are being worked on, I can't speak to those differences. I don't know them, but I'm willing to meet to discuss those and to iron those out. We can meet as a committee. I think we sent the bylaw committee our revised bylaw in, I think it was the second week of July. We hadn't heard anything back until today. So this is news to me, but I'll be honest, I think there is actually plenty of time between now and the meeting to schedule a meeting to redline and to pencil out the corrections. I don't think we're 100% set on the language that's in there in relation to the budget. We just modeled it against how we participate. And if the direction of the budgeting process is going to change, we obviously have to reflect that. So I'm all for meeting and revising that for the meeting. I mean, to be frank, we have members that want to participate in other committees. Every meeting you ask for volunteers for committees.
I know.
You know.
Just myself, I don't like the fact that certain members of the Finance Committee can't participate in some of these committee meetings because they need to. What we have is a conflict with some of our bylaws that needs to be resolved. Now we're proposing a new bylaw, which what I'm hearing is going to add more to the confusion. What I'd like to see...
What is the confusion? I guess that's my question. What is the difference between our proposed that we sent in July and, like, where's the direction change that's...
I don't have the paperwork in front of me, Mike, to be able to give you finite answers, but I can say this. I have been talking to town council about this whole issue with the Finance Committee ever since the issue of you guys resigning from things. And there is some discussion of an approach. That approach might actually be a third avenue different than what's being proposed here. What I personally would like to see is the Finance Committee and the Bylaw Committee sit down, sort of sort this out and get a proposal that the Board of Selectmen can bring to Town Council for a review.
Sure.
Can it be done before a special town meeting? I guess. I don't see why not.
As long as we get it in time to have legal review it and get it back to us by the 26th.
I mean, even right now, our legal's on vacation. You know, the month of August has been like, shut everything down, go home.
Right. I don't know how long the bylaw process is going to take revising all these, but it will more than likely take years, right?
But there will be priorities in the bylaws that are going to need to move faster than that because it's going to be recognized by this board and others that we need to move that forward.
Okay.
And this could very well be one of them, because, I mean, I personally agree with you. I
Right.
think we should have that ability, so.
Well, we've known about it.
Dying to be recognized.
But we have known about it, right? Like, we've talked for the past couple months about these issues, so I don't want them to be frank, to be committed to death. I'd like to do what we can. If we need to make concessions with our proposed bylaw, if we just need to take the paragraph out for the participating in other groups and other committees and just have that amended and added to ours temporarily, I'm fine with it. I just want us to be able to participate as, we have.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to miss more opportunities
That
waiting
was-
for the larger whole that really isn't going to change that much other than language. So.
That's why a few months ago, when a number of you resigned, I immediately went to town council to start working on getting you guys back into that fold.
So what was the third option?
I'm waiting for town council to actually give us the language for a change in a bylaw, but it basically says that we nullify the bylaw that says you can't be on that and let you be on these other committees.
So that changes our bylaw directly?
I don't know, because I don't have it in front of me. I mean, I haven't read your bylaw in months. So, but the point is you're trying to get me to give you a definitive statement from a town council that had a discussion with me 4 weeks ago before I went on 2 weeks of vacation. And it wasn't
It's
a
not coming
priority
back
to
quick,
put in
no.
my memory. I'm sorry.
It's understandable.
Can I be clear about something? So what we're talking about is you have put forth two articles to be discussed, and there's some conflict with the existing bylaw. What you're presenting is that Finance Committee members are eligible to be part of other committees so long as the committee's bylaws say that you can and that you can vote. I'm unclear about what was being talked about as far as a conflict on the job description, and I also
I don't know either.
So that's what I'd like to just clarify. So we're talking about Finance Committee's participation in other committees, which stopped because of a conflict between bylaws. I have a question about what you did present. I don't know if there's an opportunity to raise those questions. And then there was other question about that there's some conflict with job descriptions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And all of this is going to get worked out because the finance committee is going to sit down with the bylaws committee between now and special town meeting. Okay.
Well,
Unless there's some special single paragraph bylaw change that is much quicker and easier. I don't know the timeline of the legal question that you have,
The
so,
problem is it's a few months old. Town council's away now, so I haven't had the opportunity to take your proposal, the bylaw committee's concerns, spool them together with Bob, and send them to legal for review, because it just all occurred.
okay.
Now, the first article I'll be quite in favor of.
Yeah, and that, we can talk about that one after.
Virginia A. Hart, 27 Fulmer Road, Chair of Community Preservation and also on the Bylaw Committee. This has created problems for community preservation. Our bylaws, which were separately okayed by the state when we went into community preservation, calls for a finance committee member to be an active voting member, one of the 9 people that serve on community preservation. This has hampered us because their person, they named a person, but that person has not felt that he should be coming and participating. That immediately puts a problem for us having a quorum. We're down 1 person before we even begin. That is one of the problems. Now, I read their proposed bylaw change, and I saw no problem with the way it reads. It would fit the purpose of our committee very well, for the Community Preservation Committee, very well. And I looked at that and I said, it looks fine to me as it solves our purpose and anyone else who might be in that same position. I don't know if there are others. But our bylaw was passed by the state in 2000, or we wouldn't be operating as a community preservation committee.
And that's the dilemma, because the other bylaws were passed by the state also.
I know.
And they conflict.
I know.
That's why
We've got to work it out.
right.
But I saw no problem with their proposal, the way they had written it.
Well, at this point in time, finance gets together with the personnel bylaw committee, brings everything back to the select board, we run it by legal, and then we throw it on town meeting.
yeah, because the PQB is affected by this too in their bylaws, so, but we need to get that recommendation soon so we can send it to legal, get it to at least our last meeting on the 26th.
We might have a semantics issue, because there are, and perhaps we misunderstood what you were proposing. The proposal to let finance committee people serve on other committees, that's straightforward. That doesn't seem to be an issue. And your other proposal about changing the meetings and all of that doesn't seem to be an issue either. It was the assumption that all of the changes, the additional, under the article, all the additional sections that you added under the article, it was our assumption that you wanted all of those sections on the warrant as well. And it's the rest of those sections that we just would like time to look at. Those first 2 that I mentioned, I mean, that seems straightforward.
Those seem to be the two
But for
important ones to
instance,
you,
the
right?
section, one of these new ones, is the responsibility of the Finance Committee to present an objective, balanced budget deemed to be in the best interest of the town to the Select Board and to the town voters for consideration consistent with the Select Board's guidelines and review provisions. That seems to be in potential conflict with the job description for the town administrator if the town administrator is the chief financial officer. Now, it doesn't mean this can't be worked out, but we just don't want to set it up with semantics issues and then have to deal with it at town meeting or afterwards when you hire somebody under
Right, and that
job
was actually,
description.
the 2 out of my 3 points had to do with that, because under section both 9 and 10, the town administrator is not mentioned at all, where it seems like accountant and treasurer are. So it seemed to me like that might be
So that is
an omission.
That is the process today. We meet as the finance team, the town administrator is there, we work on the budget together, we present the budget. That is the process as it is today. Maybe there's language tweaks that need to be made, but that's what's happening today. If a job description for the town administrator is created or has been created that frankly takes away some of the duties of the finance committee, one, we probably should have been notified, right? Because if that's how the process
That
works.
has gone through all the departments.
I've
It
never
has.
seen a job description for the town administrator in relation to how it interacts with the finance committee,
Well, you would have
which
seen
is what the question is about.
You would have seen the entire job description,
When?
oh, I don't know, 2 months ago?
After I resigned from the town administrator search committee, and
But it was still available. It was
No,
public.
it should have went out to every town department.
It was changed a little at the committee's recommendation, but
Bottom line still comes down to the fact
Yeah.
that you need to sit down with the bylaw committee and,
well, so the job description is out there.
oh yeah, and it's approved.
So it's,
it's posted.
I guess I need to look at it and review it, because if
Yeah.
it changes the way the budget process works, then that does change items on our bylaw, right?
Yeah, it
And if
does.
it changes the way, so your proposed job description changes the way another independent elected body operates?
Our established.
I'm just,
Our
I'm playing
established-
devil's
That's just
advocate
leading
here.
us down a narrow path, Mike, so I don't know that we can answer yes or no to that.
I mean,
But that's where the
reality-
questions stem from, is that the new job description conflicts with,
Well, the town
and
administrator.
that's why it needs to go to
I
legal.
think that this is just a
CFO.
big omission. I mean, when you're talking about, I would hope it would be a collaborative process, but to not include the town administrator when you're talking about the finance committee and the town accountant and the treasurer, I think is an omission regardless of how much responsibility and weight any one of them have in the process.
I can tell you, there's no intention to exclude the town administrator from that, so we
No,
can
no
take a
one's-
look at it.
No, no, no. I don't-
But,
It was very obvious as the day, today went by, we were seeing this not meshing well.
okay.
That's
So,
why I asked you to come to the podium when I did, was so that everybody could sort of
Mhm.
talk this out before somebody went home and,
so to clarify this and make it easier, is it best for us just to modify our current bylaw to strike the language that does not allow us to participate in other committees? That way we can take the time and whatever's needed and rework whatever other bylaws are gonna be affected, because it's probably not just gonna be ours, and then it's gonna cascade to other departments. So is it easier for us just to revise our current to allow us to participate?
Strike the language like the lawyer mentioned to you.
Well, yeah, strike the language and then just add that we are allowed to participate, the language we have in our articles.
your
Or if it's
call.
easier, just to strike it.
Your call, I don't know.
You're
myself.
pursuing
We're gonna
we're-
pursue
we're
legal
up in the
because
air.
it's our responsibility to make
Right.
sure that an article that goes in front of town meeting has been vetted by legal.
Okay.
I don't want to take and have an article that everyone's putting together that's competent, but legal doesn't review it, and the next thing it gets thrown out by the AG's office.
If you strike that term and just let it be silent, then that would take care of,
If that works, that's
at
fine.
least from a finance committee point of view, that would work, you know?
Yeah.
It's the simplest way, and then it can be reviewed and
All right.
worked on
Right.
Well, then
going forward.
That'll
resubmit it
give
to
you
us
some
and make
time.
That's
sure
fine.
bylaw committee's involved and
Mhm.
we'll go from there.
Charlie?
Seems reasonable.
I think it's important to have a meeting soon with the Finance Committee, because we got moving parts here. We've got a recruitment process for the administrator, and we don't have clarity on the whole budget process. Although what's out there in terms of recruitment, I think provides something very different than the proposed bylaw. So we need to sit down and go through that and to have an understanding, because it may affect the hiring process. And I think when you get into interviews, your administrator is going to ask some questions, what is expected of the administrator in terms of the budget process, and we should have clear answers.
That's fine. It's,
Whenever your next meeting is, I'm happy to come,
yeah.
maybe others.
There's never been any outreach in regards to the interaction between a new town administrator and the finance committee. So we're kind of in the dark on this, what the plan is.
Well, I think originally that's why you were on the committee, though. You were
Yes.
the liaison.
That was the,
Then I took the
that
summer
was
off.
the idea. Didn't happen, did it?
And
So
that's
if-
fine.
If you change your bylaws That'll take a while. I always say, then you can get back on the committee.
I'm sorry?
Then you can get back on the committee once those bylaws change, finance committee bylaws.
Let's see here.
You have to
Town
agree.
meeting's October
You
7th.
You say you have some time free during the week, remember?
Oh, just the summer. I'm real busy during the fall.
But didn't we fill the committee, though? We replaced,
You can always add, yeah.
yeah, we have to add someone.
Yes.
I mean,
But
at that
Charlie-
point, it'd
But
probably
October
muddy the
is-
water more than,
Now, I just want to make sure I'm clear. The
During the fiscal.
job description for the town administrator, that has been complete.
Process.
That's completed, approved, and active right now.
Yeah, it's out there.
Right, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
That's done.
Okay.
Yeah, they
And the
came
reason
before us.
we did it was to finish it up so that they could advertise for the TA's position.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to,
So that's an official instrument as of whenever it was signed, 3-4 weeks ago.
Oh, a
Yeah.
while ago, yeah.
So, okay, very good.
so I will call an emergency meeting of the finance committee to modify our bylaw, if voted, to strike the language, and we'll get it to you as soon as possible.
Okay, please copy the bylaw committee.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
I just want to mention to the bylaws committee that I've been reading what you've been sending, and it's just a great job. I mean, it's simplifying the language, it's so much more straightforward, so thank you.
Yeah. And seeing where they cross over, I think that's an important item, Velda.
Okay, reaffirming Board of Selectmen policies. We have standard policies that we review every year. We always take and, I'm gonna quit spinning or I'm gonna get yelled at for not getting heard. We take and submit them, 30 days prior to voting on them, so everybody has an opportunity to review them and everything. I have not seen any requests for any changes on those bylaws. Those bylaws have been in effect all last year. Do I hear a motion to reaffirm the bylaws? Or policies, excuse me?
so move.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion?
Yeah, these have been, it says here, well over 10 days posted, so
Yeah.
I feel that we're good there.
Yeah. We seem to post this in the beginning of July and vote on them in August every year. Nothing's changed on them, but I do have two I want to bring up after we vote.
We're ready for a vote.
Guess so. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, it's voted on. I want to bring to the board's attention that we do have two bylaws out there that are still in, I'll say, question. One is the driveway committee. Bob, would you be kind enough to contact the driveway committee and ask them if they're closing in on this? It's been about a year.
Charlie, I can,
He's on.
I'm on the driveway committee. We have completed it. We're just waiting to have a joint session with the select board. And I thought that would have been soon, but
Can we post a meeting with the Board of Selectmen, the driveway committee, for next selectmen's meeting on the 12th?
I'm sure we could be ready by next meeting. I mean, it was complete
No pressure here.
a month and a half ago. It's
No
just
pressure
not a
here.
lot of meetings going on.
All right. Does that work? Second one was our insurance question relative to people. That was put on hold, and I guess my question is, does this board wish to revisit that?
You're talking about the short-term, short-term disability.
Yep.
Yeah, we put it on hold so we can get some pricing on it. I think we should bring it back up, make a decision either way, put it to rest.
You wish to put this on the
Sure.
12th? 12th again?
What other information do we need? I mean, Jim provided us with some figures, and I know I had some figures from where I work, so I've got a good idea what it costs. I've got an opinion, but I'll save it for that meeting.
Well, let's say hypothetically, we decide that the cost is reasonable, then we'll be basically putting it as an article for town meeting to allocate funding to get the insurance.
I have two things I want to talk about if we get a second here.
To do with this?
Yes, yes, on this insurance. I know that there was an issue with one of the town employees that had an issue where he went out and then came back, say 4 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and then to go out again, if it's the same issue, let's say it's heart, I'm going to say, for instance, it's heart issue. I think with the disability, you get a one shot at that particular illness. Where the town's policy, I think, you can
go out, come
you
back
can go
2
out,
days.
come back. Yes, but if you had cancer or something,
Right.
and you try to come back, you may kick yourself. You may knock yourself out of that option to collect. That was one of the problems with the disability insurance that came up. So I don't know how to address that. I don't know what we would do there.
Well, we put this on the agenda. They'll give us a few weeks to research it.
Yeah, I can see if I can have a representative come in and talk to us at the next meeting, if you'd like.
I think that would be good, because
We could answer these questions.
we need a professional to answer that question.
Yeah, and the second thing I wanted to say, is there any way we can get back data to see if we had this policy in effect, would it have cost more for the policy, or did it cost us more not to have the policy?
Assuming the town treasurer would be able to.
Yeah, that would be
glean
great information to have. So if we could say that it would have cost the town $15,000, it did cost the town 15, it would have been 10 here.
I
It
think
would be good to know.
One of the big issues is if somebody goes out for that 12 weeks or whatever, it comes out of the department budget, or if we had
That's the other
short-term
damage.
disability, it would be funded on essential basis.
Right.
Because you can decimate a budget with one person going out for 12 weeks or
Oh,
24
absolutely.
weeks.
Especially a small town department.
Yes,
You know.
but, so there's two issues. I mean,
Yeah. So if you can schedule somebody to come in,
I'll try to see if they're available to come in, it'd be great.
if not, let us know, and maybe we can get somebody.
Charlie, we also have this other issue. The Select Board voted in June, I believe, to accept a portion of the law that allows for renegotiation or negotiation of our health insurance plan. You saw a message, I guess, from the treasurer that one of the representatives of our plan would like to come in and brief the board on what they intend to do in terms of negotiations on our plan for the coming year. That's what that was about.
Looks like the 12th's going to be a long meeting.
Yeah, it is, it is.
How does the board feel about starting the meeting like at 5:30? Have the informational session at 5 o'clock for the other stuff that was coming in, and then have the meeting at 5:30?
I'm good.
Fine.
Yeah, the informational
Yeah, okay.
session will start at 5, the actual meeting will start at 5:30. They give us a half-hour head start.
It'd just be a longer meeting, that's all.
At the front end instead of the back end.
Usually there's
It'll be
pizza.
back in too.
I know.
Usually there's pizza before 6, right? If we
My
start the-
understanding is, according to my calculations, that John is responsible for pizza this time.
I bought it last time, just
You-
so the records note.
You remember that?
I do. I personally think the newest member, but that's just me. No.
That's right, you were just elected, so there you go. All right, I hear 2 votes for John. Do I hear a third? Okay, those are my concerns on the bylaws, and policies.
Yep.
Heating and cooling system.
Excuse me. This is the contract, which needs your signature. We're with the same company. In the past, we had 2 companies actually providing services. This would consolidate under the one company. They've been here this year twice.
Can't see it, but-
We think they provide good service and efficient service. And so we're asking for the board to sign on.
And we've allocated funding for this.
I've talked with the town accountant. We don't have quite enough, but we'll cover. We'll cover by probably the annual town meeting.
All right.
And the reason is this, that the system that we have for, as a controller system, the software is outdated. The other company that was providing that service was not doing satisfactory service. So now that we're consolidating with M&G, we have to change the software, and so there's an extra expense to it.
So this will eliminate me having to climb up on the roof?
This will, presumably, this eliminates a lot of the crazy activity that's gone on with the system in the last couple months. I would also note that they fixed it. They came here when we had the trouble. We haven't had trouble since then.
I
Are they
gotta
waiving
tell
the
you,
first year? Are they waiving the first year? Is this,
No,
no, I thought I
this-
read that they were actually,
I am so impressed that I'm not getting calls for the toilets being backed up and the air conditioning not working.
we have a very good staff person now doing
What was that?
work as a custodian, and that
Kelly, can I
includes
look at that?
Yeah.
taking care of that, so.
Do I hear a motion to accept this contract?
Now, that's for a 3-year agreement
Yeah.
for the
Yes.
front
It
end
says
of the
waived.
system.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like $3,300 or so is due every year?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about the software.
No, no.
Okay.
But the
That
maintenance was waived for the
Maintenance is
first year.
waived, yes, yes.
That's correct, Bob? That's a 3-year agreement.
Yes, it is,
So if we approve it for this year, we're only talking a third of that amount,
correct.
Yeah,
which is roughly $3,300.
that's what it looks like.
And we're getting a free first-year service.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is the year we need the service to get things going. Do I hear a motion?
I will make the motion, we accept the proposal.
Second?
I'll second it.
No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll go with it.
It's unanimous.
Who has the signature, the copy to be signed? Do you have that?
Right here.
Okay.
It's only one signature.
Right, I just didn't, no, I didn't think it was in here, so just used to put them in there.
I figure if I sign it now and hand it to Bob, it'll be recorded on television that I handed it to Bob, and no one will be chasing me down the road asking me where it is. Okay, moving right along. Job descriptions. Police chief, fire chief, highway superintendent, water superintendent. Is there any concerns with these job descriptions?
No.
These are what the PQB board submitted. There's no concerns. Bob, do we need to vote on these?
You need to sign them, so
Then I want a motion to
I would say voting would be in
accept
order.
these as the new job descriptions.
When will they become effective? Doesn't actually say on them, so we should make sure we have.
When there is no date on them, I always assume the effective date's the date of signature.
Okay,
That's the way I look at
no,
it.
that's fine, as long as that's what we're
Sign.
agreeing
The
to.
current one's expired?
No,
Just
these,
updated.
they're all
Just updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they now say draft, so we'll have to approve, and
Where's
they'll have to get
one?
back to us
Starts with two.
Right.
with a final
Oh, sign
copy.
meaning all
Yeah,
the
so
documents.
have they reviewed this?
Who?
The,
Yes.
Yeah, they worked with the PQB.
Yeah, in
right.
fact, I actually personally emailed them when this was
Go
all
after
going
that.
through to make sure they saw them.
okay.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion. Approve the job descriptions for police chief, fire chief, highway superintendent, and water superintendent.
Okay, I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, it's unanimous. Okay. Now, let me sign these so that they're signed.
The job descriptions?
Yep.
They say drafts on them, so,
Not
Yeah, you're
the-
gonna want,
Oh, yeah, they
fresh
all say
copies.
drafts on
yeah,
them.
you gotta get a final copy.
Yeah, they say draft.
So I would say that we get the final copies and we
All right.
approve
Yeah,
you to
well,
sign
if
them.
you-
Is the signature page,
yeah,
The votes have been taken,
Where
so
does yours
we
say
can come in
draft?
anytime to sign
I
them.
went on the top.
Yeah.
right there, okay, they missed that part, okay, I
Yep.
got it, yeah.
A draft. It says in there. Damn it.
Looks like Charlie's gotta work tomorrow.
oh,
Yes. New business? I want to make sure Bob catches up before I go too far. You all set?
Mhm.
New business review of Southampton personnel bylaw. I have no recollection of that.
We didn't come up with anything on that either.
Then we'll just pass over it.
Pass over.
Okay.
Well, two things that have come up recently about that is, one is the PBB committee had made a recommendation that we relook at the personnel, if not packet bylaw, that actually, it just looks like there's, signature, like 10 times on one page, and it just needs to be cleaned up. And they were suggesting that we vote on the personnel packet.
Mhm. I'm sorry, I forgot something. When I asked, what is this about? We asked around. It is about the sick leave policy.
Oh, right.
Remember?
Right.
There was a recommendation that the Board of Selectmen rejected. And you have in your packet.
It's in a packet.
You have 2 sick leave policies, and there's a request that you review them again and see if you're still opposed to the sick leave proposal that is supported by Personnel Policy and Procedures Board.
Well, the policy we just voted on was their policy, was it not?
No.
Yeah, we voted on August 16th, 2016, it says. We approved the revised rules with the exception of section 13.0 sick leave.
Right.
And the select board and PQB are continuing to meet to discuss
Yes.
that section.
That's what this is about.
In the meantime, current sick leave policies and sick and accidental injury will remain the same. So that's ties in what we were talking about before.
Right, the
Exactly.
insurance policy.
But what we voted on was basically keeping that old,
Correct, until
we haven't
figured
changed it.
Section
That's right.
13.0.
You did not change that one section last year when you
Right.
voted the revisions.
So the vote was solid.
And, yeah, we're revisiting that now with life insurance, or the
Right.
disability insurance.
Right.
And that ties into the sick leave, that whole section.
All right, so that's fine.
So we'll just put this aside until you,
But
Get the presentation.
No.
what
Yes.
Rainey,
Yeah, there's the other issue is just cleaning up and the packet that goes out to employees that
yes.
should be signed off on a signature page and not multiple dates. And the other issue that came up was around when people are eligible to take their vacation time,
right.
whether or not that needs to be relooked at.
I thought the personnel board reviewed that and made some determinations.
Not that, that just came up with their most recent person who resigned.
Are you talking about carrying it forward, right, Rainey?
No, I'm talking about if you, right now, if you get past July 1st, you're eligible to take a year, your whole 2 weeks or something.
Not take it, but get
Right.
paid, you mean, if you leave?
Paid out time just by
Right.
getting past July 1st.
Right, if
And
you
we
leave.
thought that maybe should be looked at.
Yes, definitely.
This is a problem here and elsewhere. If you're going to retire on July 2nd, because then you've accrued your vacation.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean,
Uh,
at least working for the state, you're accruing it the year before. So if I got to July 2nd, I've already got a year's accrued, so that's mine. And that's the same way.
Well,
I think we award, even if it's not accrued, we award full going forward without the accrual part.
we do.
Right.
Which is the issue we want to look at.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, we don't accrue like that.
Right.
yeah,
We give up front saying,
We,
you're good, but if you
That's
leave
right.
this
That's
day
right.
after, you still have it.
that's right.
And that's the issue. We're paying out,
July 1, you accrue your full
Years.
vacation, your full time
Right.
off there.
So those two things should come up at some
Yeah.
point.
you want to bounce those to personnel board and ask them for a little feedback, and then we'll put it on the 12th and see where it goes?
Yeah, I think this is going to probably take them a while because that gets complicated.
Yeah,
I mean,
That gets complicated. The question would be, if not July 1, when?
well, if, again, I'm going from my own experience, you accrue X amount per month.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll say
X
12
amount.
hours a month based on 4 weeks, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So you're here 2 months, you get 2
Yeah.
months accrual.
Yeah.
I mean, you earned it, you should get it.
Mm-hmm.
Should you get 4 weeks because you worked 2 months? Probably not. To me, that's what accrual is all about.
Yes.
Right. And I don't think the issue with the personnel packet is that big. It really is just, it
It's
needs to be
cleaning
cleaned
up the front
up.
page.
You know, the front page. I don't think there's content changes.
But you gotta be careful with this too, because if somebody wants to take a vacation in July, they haven't accrued it yet, but yet they can't roll it over for the next July. So that might be, those are some of the issues they're gonna run into, I
Well,
think.
that's why bounce it back to personnel, have
Right.
them come back to
Send it to
us.
personnel. I can
Right.
see,
I
I
can
can
see
see
it.
accrual by month being a much better way to do it. We could have some contractual issues.
Again, personal
Given that you're
experience, if I
taking
don't
away
have
a
any time
benefit.
accrued, I can't take it.
Oh,
Right. If you can't
agree.
carry it over,
Yeah.
then how can you accrue it
Yep.
in July?
So you have to
Right.
change, yeah,
right, that's why I'm saying there's two sides to that.
yeah, agreed.
Okay, move on to the next one.
Yes.
J&E Tool Project. I think we're tabling that for the next meeting.
Yeah, we weren't gonna have
Yeah.
I'm involved with this company a little bit, and John wasn't gonna be here, so I would've had to leave and step out, so we scratched it. Well, just to give you a heads up, it's a economic development incentive program with the state, so they're gonna have somebody come from the state to talk about it. So, there'll be next meeting and I'll leave.
Okay.
It's good to see you survive the eclipse.
You know? It's funny how I get blamed for stuff even when I'm here.
Okay, removal of 41 Valley Road from Chapter 61A, right of first refusal. My understanding is the Conservation Commission waived the right as far as they're concerned, so now it's up to the Board of Selectmen to take a formal vote.
I'll make a motion that we remove 41 Valley Road from Chapter 61A.
Wait a second.
I am gonna abstain because I have adjoining land, even though it's my aunt, but.
So I guess I'll second it.
Discussion. This is, if memory serves, where the solar farm is going in.
Yeah. I mean, if we can't find the need for it, there's no sense holding on to the first right of refusal.
I don't see a need. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Okay, it's unanimous with one abstention. 3 yes, 1 extension.
May I, sorry, may I say something else? Are we able to have that signature tonight?
It's being passed over now.
We're here to serve.
Are we going to have a copy of our signatures tonight?
We can even do that.
I can take it, I can just take a screenshot and get it tomorrow.
You notice how quick they just jump up?
There's the next one.
Not gonna sign it.
There you go.
All right.
This is Randall's.
You just want to take a screen, you want to take a,
Just want to take a photocopy here.
Bob, why don't you just make a copy and be done with it? That way there, it's done.
Bob, does this have to be signed by everyone, or just,
Is that the disclosure?
yeah,
All right, let me, I'll start this off and
okay.
we have a disclosure by non-elected municipal employee for financial interest determination. This is a relatively routine thing. Our highway superintendent is obviously works for us doing highway stuff. There's a project going in that his wife is representing somebody as the attorney. There is no actual financial interest involved in this relative to what Randall does. So I just need to have it in the minutes that he disclosed this and that we approved it. Do I hear a motion?
yeah, it's common, I'll make the motion.
Yes, this is nothing.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. I'm going to sign it as chair, but it is part of the record. And you want to get that back so Bob has it. I'm going to jump over to transportation to the contract for Holmberg and Howe Land Survey Services for 215 College Highway. I'm going to ask the board to pass over this at this point in time because we have not engaged in a purchase and sale agreement. And the reason is our attorneys are all on vacation. Both the town and the people wanting to sell the property to the town are all on the same page. It's just that we can't get legal to get the paperwork together. So I don't want to get a contract approved to take and do the survey work until I get a purchase and sale agreement signed. That is the old Grange Hall. Across the way by the old town hall. That property would enhance the parking area of the old town hall so that when we go to look at refurbishing that building, it'll give us more land surface to work with. But the next step is purchase and sale. Second step is going to be doing the survey work. Third step is going to be doing some testing of the soil, that kind of stuff. So it's moving along. Hopefully by our town meeting in October, we will have an article for the town to take and vote to purchase it. Now I'll drop back to transportation of additional student attending Westfield Tech Voc School. Bob, does this board need an action relative to this student going there?
My understanding from communications with the superintendent is that this student was planned into the budget. So no additional funds will be needed for student fees. What hasn't been planned or wasn't planned was transportation. And the question from the school department would be, what do we do about transportation? I did get a message from Selectman LaBrie about transportation, and apparently the selectmen decided a while back that they were not going to provide transportation. Two of the students who are currently attending...
Was from John.
From John, I'm sorry, okay.
That's okay.
Two of the students who are currently attending are being transported by a teacher at Westfield Vocational. So that's, I guess that's the question before the board. Is there going to be a policy to transport students to Westfield Voc or not?
I would say, as I remember, the school committee was involved. At the time, we were paying for a couple of students roughly around $50,000 a year for transportation from Southampton to Westfield, and it was decided that since we had Smith Voc, anybody that wanted to go to Westfield would pay the tuition, but not the transportation, and they would know that up front so they can make it their own decision. That's my memory.
Also, was there something
of it.
Something involving whether or not the student could find the program at Smith Voc, but would choose the same program at Westfield?
It may be. That's why I asked a little background, because...
Or, you know, and students who can't find the program that they want at Smith, who then go to Westfield, maybe have some higher claim.
If I remember, again, it's all memory, Westfield offered some of the classes that Smith didn't, but over time, they kind of smoothed out. I think HVAC or something was in there, so that's why I was asking for some background, because I'm just going on memory here.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Brian Moran, 23 Madison Avenue. That's my son. That is going to Westfield. As we understood, talking with Mr. Jurgensen, that is what you're talking about with the programs. He's going there for aviation maintenance, which is not offered at Smith. And as we understand it, my wife just spoke with him, with the superintendent last week, and said that basically he told her, well, it's coming up in the committee, in the meeting tonight. He says, I don't even know why they're doing it, because we have to provide transportation because it's a program that's not offered at Smith.
So that's just clarification we're going to need then, and figure out transportation. But what kind of transportation do we provide? And there's 2 other students, I believe, going to.
As I understand it, there's 2 of them, and there's a faculty member that maybe takes them both.
Yeah.
In the same program? Are they in the aviation program, the other 2?
I don't
Yeah.
think so, but I don't know. I mean,
They are in other shops that are available at Smithville. That's why
Okay.
they
Okay.
That's why they-
Okay. So would we, I mean, I'm not sure how we'd provide transportation for one student. I mean, it's a question. Yeah.
Well, first, and you have something else you want to add to this before? Because if you do, I'm bringing you up to the podium.
No, it's reiterating everything
All right.
that Brian just said.
All right, Tammy, so what you're saying is, and I'm repeating this because they're going to ask me at home what you said.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes,
Okay.
without names.
Tammy Walunas, 298 College Highway, Hampshire Regional School Committee. There is a new enrollment at Westfield Vocational. The student wants to attend aviation mechanic shop. Because Smith Vocation doesn't have the shop, we have to allow the student to attend Westfield and provide transportation. 2 other students attend Westfield, but their families agreed that transportation would not be provided since the shops they attended are also available at Smith. Even though Southampton is required to provide transportation to the new student in this unique program, the other students should not be provided with transportation because it will open the door to students thinking they can choose between Smith and Westfield. So, does that make that clear?
Thank you.
Okay.
So if I understand this correctly, this student needs a vote of this board to authorize this student to attend Westfield.
I don't think that's.
I don't think
No.
that's the case,
That's
no,
not-
no. This student
he's already
already
accepted.
planned
and-
into the
and-
process,
Okay,
He can go, that's not an
already
issue.
planned into the budget as well.
And we'll-
Transportation only.
Yeah,
It's
but
the
how do you provide, yeah, just
issue is the
transportation.
transportation.
but the transportation comes out of the school budget, not out of our budget.
Right. And they're looking for additional funding from what I'm understanding here.
I think that's it. I did send a message to the superintendent asking how he would propose to provide the transportation, and would the existing company, Dunkirk, is it?
Durham, I thought.
Durham, I'm sorry, Durham. How, would that company have a small van or some kind of way to do the transporting? He said he would check. But that's where we are at this point.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, this board has no action to take, and the school committee has to submit a budget revision to finance to discuss this as an additional expense,
Or funded out of the current budget.
or fund it out of current budget. There's no need to even be here.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I think you
Yeah.
just wanted
what the
us.
superintendent had said to my wife. He said, I don't know why they're going to discuss it because we have to
Yeah.
I
provide
don't know why it was
transportation."
on the agenda,
He didn't either, but
so,
But
that's why I'm here.
again, it reiterates the policy, and those 2 particular
Right.
students who
Yeah.
don't get it, if they come to us, we'll have the
Okay.
answer. It's going to be interesting how they provide the transportation.
Yeah, and I'll feel guilty on the day. I mean, I work an on-off schedule out of this county. I happen to be off today. I mean, there's days during the week that I'm off, and I'll almost feel like I can't give them a ride to school, even though I could, because it's
yes.
we got this transportation, and
Right.
how dare I bring him, because now this bus driver is going to be not picking up his one kid.
Well,
I mean, I understand the logistics of it, but that's
Well,
just as
there
we
are-
understood it.
there are other students, I'm sure, that are picked up in this town relative to some of these bus companies.
That's what I've heard, and that's
So-
why we hadn't really had it communicated to us, as it's getting down to crunch time, and
Right. This needs to
try to
go
figure it
full
out.
circle back to the school department with you. As far as with us, there's nothing more that I can see to discuss.
And this all started with the superintendent sending an email, which I forwarded it to the board, essentially asking for funding for it.
Yeah.
That's what he's,
And we don't have any funding to give at this point, so
We don't
they,
even know what the dollar amount is.
yeah, so they need to work it out.
Yeah.
And you, Tammy said the next meeting is the 28th?
The 28th, we meet on the 28th.
So I would
Alright, so-
suggest
and you
Brian,
know
you
how
go to
this
that
works,
meeting.
Tammy, so you know.
28th of this month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, we were unable to meet at the beginning of the month, so we figured we'd get one in before school started
Mhm.
to wrap up things that were gonna come about very quickly into the school year.
Okay. And will that be over here at
No,
Norris or
at-
be
at
here?
Hampshire.
Oh, at Hampshire, okay.
Hampshire, in the library on the second floor.
Okay. Time?
Starts at 6:30.
Okay.
No, this is probably a bad idea, but I'll throw it out there anyway. Why not?
You sure?
You're on Madison, you said, right? What are you, half a mile from the Westfield line?
Ish.
Yeah.
Would we contract, is there any bus company in Westfield that's not full that we could contract them to go that half mile because they're going all the way across Westfield anyway?
That would be up to the school
Right, that would
department to
be a
track that
lot
down.
cheaper if you could work that out with Westfield Bus Company. I'm just throwing that out there.
And since we're throwing out bad ideas, I got a worse one. Could we contract in general with a parent? You know, a mileage.
Again, that becomes
Yeah,
the
but that's
school
something you
de-
may bring up.
Oh, like I said, there's many days where
Yeah.
myself or my wife could even bring him, but, you know, there's also gonna be many days where we can't, and he's not old enough to drive yet, so,
Right, so, yeah.
yeah, right.
But the liability, I think, is a big problem if you go to that route. But if you have a bus company already in Westfield, and you throw them a few extra bucks, they'll drive that extra half mile to pick them up. Just throwing that out.
I had heard something about the White Oak School,
Yep.
that there's maybe some student transactions that already go on there.
That's not
Right.
that far into Westfield.
Where
No,
was,
it's right, it's,
My,
Yeah,
my
it's-
wa- my wife, until this year, drove bus, used to do White Oak all the way out into East Long Meadow.
so there we go.
doing-
well, his current
She's
bus goes up,
retired now.
valley. I mean, it's, or
Well, what
goes
I'm
up
saying is
valley,
that-
not north. But
Where's the Voc in Westfield?
It's on the other side of the city. It's on the south side.
It's,
So
yeah, it's down, you don't even get into the new rotary, you
Yeah.
go on 20. You take a right at that at the mobile there, and it's
Far from
a mile, a
But the
little more than a
school
mile off the road.
The school department's well aware of these different bus companies because they sign contracts with numerous bus
Right.
companies.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So
Good
the
luck,
28th at
thanks.
6:30?
28th.
Thank you.
All right,
If you approve, you can,
we did not. I tabled it because I want the purchase and sale agreement before we do the survey work.
okay.
And I'm waiting for town attorney,
Yep.
who's on vacation, so everything's just sort of sitting out there,
Okay.
which is fine, we have time. The next issue here is, and any other unnecessary business that cannot wait until June 27th.
I mentioned that.
I'm assuming next year.
That's 18, yeah.
Is there any other issues that can't wait until September 12th? Okay, I'm not aware of any myself, so,
Is he talking about open time for the public?
nope,
No, okay.
nope.
Yeah.
All right, now we got signatures for the select board. Who has the master list?
I do here.
All right, Bob, seeing you have it, you want to read it?
Sure.
I mean, someone has to read it.
Sure. Health agent Christopher Bishop, part-time, new job.
So it's a resignation for
Resignation,
us.
yeah. Yeah.
Originally, it was going to be a part-time assignment, but he resigned.
Right.
Do we need to sign that, given the fact that it's a resignation?
Select board chair.
All right, why don't you hand it to
I
me?
was
and
at the
I'll just-
PQB and they signed off on it too, just for the record.
Yep. PQB and Finance signed off on it. The only one that didn't sign off on it was the Board of Health.
I have Christy Fennessy, treasurer collector clerk, resigned to take another position with the Commonwealth.
That one is signed off by everyone. I am signing these with the assumption that the board's approving them at a vote at the end. If not, sing out.
PCF for interim assistant COA director.
So I'll just mention, because I questioned this, that this is interim position. It's not part of the current plan going forward, so this just extends the current interim status until a full-time director is hired. Well, not full-time, but a...
Assistant. This is the assistant.
This is the assistant, right.
It's a
But this is
it's a
not
temporary.
part, having an assistant COA director is not part of the future plans, but this is
No.
an
Correct.
interim position until that other position starts.
And this is for what, 12 weeks?
Yeah, it's an extension.
Yep.
Yeah.
So should I put on this a maximum of 12 weeks?
Well, temporary by definition.
That's the rule.
That's the rule, yeah.
But should I put on here maximum 12 weeks?
Sure, go ahead.
The reason being, I've seen this challenged in the past.
Okay, makes sense. And my thought is, though, it might not even be 12 weeks from,
I'm hoping it's not even 12
right,
weeks.
12 weeks max maybe, put on there.
We have a volunteer coordinator for the Council on the Aging for 4 hours per week.
Yeah, it's Florence Collins, right?
Right.
And this is permanent?
Yes. That's why the hours for the director were reduced a little bit to accommodate keeping her in that position.
Next, we have a firefighter whose wage is being increased to align with the state's minimum wage.
Who's that?
Tyler Limoges.
So, question, do we have anybody in the town who is making below minimum wage?
I was not even aware of that, but I can't answer that.
My
I
own-
haven't seen any, certainly, but
My only concern is minimum wage doesn't apply to us unless we wanted to.
Right.
But if we're bringing somebody up to minimum wage in the fire department, boy, I want to make sure we don't have anybody below minimum wage.
anybody else.
We have brought all firefighters to minimum wage that were,
Yeah, rightfully so, agree.
no,
Find out.
I
We may
know
have,
that.
we may have some junior employees in highway or something like that. I don't know of any.
I
but-
suspect not.
Yeah, me too. Those are unionized. I just want to be fair to everybody.
Yeah. I don't believe there is anyone.
All right.
I think I would have heard it if there was.
We have probationary paramedic, Tyler Struthers. Just graduated from a 2-year program and works in a probationary status as a medic for the town.
Just an observation. These are all signed off by all the committees, boards, town accountant, except the fire chief who submitted them. Would you kindly have him sign these things when, I know they came from him, but it's kind of funny none of the other committees picked up on that.
Yeah, it is. We have Alexandria Capon Parizo, who has been hired as in an auxiliary position for training purposes in the fire department.
No, police.
Police department.
Police.
I'm sorry, police department.
And it's below minimum wage, Charlie.
But isn't it
Salary.
also, there's no salary?
No,
It's zero.
there's nothing, yeah, it's below minimum wage, yes.
Okay, so we found somebody that's below minimum wage in town.
Mhm.
And finance did sign off on it, it's just in a different place.
We have an emergency hire in the Treasurer Collector's Department to replace Christy Fennessy, who has departed for the state job. Her name is Christy Facto. Emergency appointment. What do we have?
It seems like we also have a temporary one for her.
Yes,
Right.
we have a temporary hire. That's my understanding. She's not been permanently hired yet. Although I think there's an intent to do that.
So, again, we go back to the question of should I write 12 weeks maximum?
I would.
What's the maximum time for an emergency? I mean, we have an emergency, then a temporary.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we have both.
It's 2 and 12?
2 for an emergency, 12 for temporary, so it's 14 total.
14 total weeks in that, Charlie, is what I'm getting at.
All right. I could double shuffle these papers and nobody would even know because they're,
So the 12 would start after, you want to give him a date too?
The dates are on here.
The final date, he's saying, he's technically 14 weeks after.
Oh, right. Well, one starts the 17th of July, one starts the 31st. So
Yeah,
12 weeks
okay.
after the 31st.
Got it. Yeah.
so I'll put down total 14 weeks. Anything else, Bob?
That's all for signatures. The next is the licenses and permits.
So, do I hear a motion to accept all actions relative to the Personnel Board and the employees?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, licenses for,
Grindstone Mountain license.
okay. Do you have that available?
I do, and also I have this, the sheet, the checklist for you, all.
To sell secondhand motor vehicles.
All the documents are in order.
Okay, so a question, the license is to sell, this is at the old King Oak Farm. So license to sell secondhand motor vehicles, no display of vehicles or equipment. So is this for farm equipment or is this carte blanche for any motor vehicle?
What we were told is used farm equipment.
I know what we were told, I'm just looking at
Not what it says.
what's here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in favor of
It includes
used
dump
car
tr- yeah.
dealership.
It included like a,
And they're in agriculture
Other-
preservation too.
But it
so-
says, no storage of junk vehicles or equipment, license restricted to non-APR land. I don't know what land they have that's non-APR.
it says logging equipment and trucks. I wish to sell used farm tractors, hay equipment, along with logging equipment and trucks.
What does the actual permit say?
The actual permit says hereby licensed to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles at such and such College Highway on premises described as follows. No display of vehicles or equipment at roadside. No storage of junk vehicles or equipment. License restricted to non-APR land. So that, you could have a used car lot in the
Yes.
back.
Yes. That's the license.
Oh, I agree. I mean,
It's-
can we
it's a
restrict the
generic
license more?
Yeah, it's a generic license.
You can.
You can
my-
restrict it, but
Yeah, you can add
otherwise it's
restrictions
generic.
on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't like a generic license like this.
Well, let's have the owner come up and give us a little.
Yeah. How you doing?
How you doing? Eric Lycolini, 7 College Highway. So, Basically with the used car license is wood chippers, trailers, such as things like that. You have to have the dealer's license in order to process all the titles. So there might be a truck or two here and there. I'm not gonna have a used car sales lot sitting on the property, but you know, there is things that have to do with sales tax, licensing, all the paperwork.
So you might sell
That's true.
used trucks or vehicles.
Sure, because I have a farm myself. You know, if I get a farm truck or something, I want to turn around and sell it.
How about non-farm?
What's that?
How about non-farm vehicles?
Yeah, I don't want no passenger cars or anything like that.
How about just trucks in general?
Yeah, trucks, tractors, farm equipment.
And so where are these going to be stored? It says non-APR land.
There's
Yeah,
a
the-
map
the
here,
front-
do you want to look at it?
Oh, wait a minute, maybe I have it right here.
Yeah, the front 5 acres is an APR, and then there's another 20 acres in the back, and some random spots.
Here,
If I can find
no,
the
if
map.
he wants to look at that. It's
Okay,
easier to see on hard copy.
got it right here.
Likes the technology.
Yeah. Is there a certain maximum number of vehicles? That's not part of the license, right? It just specifies not junk vehicles, right?
Yeah, I don't want broken down junk vehicles in the property. And we run horse shows and everything out of there, so I mean, it's a manicured
What
property.
is
I
the
don't want to
zoning?
look like
That's
a
my question.
junkyard.
But the
with
license
stuff
doesn't
piled up.
say, 20 versus,
I don't remember what it says for the.
'cause I don't think it
minimum
says
or
any kind
maximum.
of
No.
size or
You
even,
can restrict that if you want, but
Yeah.
without restrictions, it is
Right.
unlimited.
does it restrict the acreage because of the non-APR land? Does it
No,
therefore,
it's specific parking size.
right, so it's a
But
certain
the whole
parcel
front-
size?
Yeah, there's
Right.
plenty of parking in the front.
So
just
that's
to-
one way of restricting the numbers, is to just, because it's the part that's non-farm, right?
But that's all up front with the frontage. That-
Right.
So,
Yeah, right.
Just curious, what is the zoning of that area up front?
It's, residential, commercial.
Is it residential, commercial?
Yeah.
Now,
now, I'm curious what the abutters would say too.
well, do we have to, I mean, if we go to the bylaws,
Yep.
and it's gonna say in that residential, commercial, what we can do there and what the process is, did you look that up? Like, if you're in an industrial park, there's a lot of permitted uses, and then it tells you what the process is you go through, and like, I'm going through that right now in an industrial park. I have to go to the ZBA, and they hold a public hearing. I decide what I want to do, and then they either approve it or they don't.
I don't think so, because I know there's other dealers' licenses in town. There's one on Middle Road at the old pig farm, I know they have one. I know they deal with a lot of junk vehicles and just a few other, I can't give the addresses right off the top of my head, but that all have the same licenses that, because a lot of this, with the dealer's license, you can get into the auctions to buy, like online auctions, which most of it to probably buy anyways, because everything's usually online.
Yeah.
But you have to have a license in order you can get into the auction to buy the equipment, and so.
Yeah, we should look at what's allowed on that land.
What'd you say, John?
We shall see what's allowed on that land, and then personally, I think we should have some restrictions on what's there, especially it's right in the center of town.
You couldn't even see anything from the road anyways.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't, you got neighbors there and, school is there.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm against it or anything.
Well, I run a
I'm just
commercial.
like,
Just want
look
more-
into it.
More details, yeah.
You know what I mean? I run a commercial farm out of there anyway, so there's always trucks, trailers, tractor trailers, farm equipment. So it wouldn't be anything different that I run out of there every single day.
I'm just concerned the volume, if you start cranking out a lot of vehicles coming and going there. So I'd just like to look into it a little more.
Yeah,
Eric, what do you think of this? And I'm just throwing this, okay?
Yep.
Is hereby licensed to buy and sell secondhand agricultural motor vehicles and implements shall not be visible from roadways of the town.
That's fine.
It says what I'm writing is agricultural, secondhand agricultural. So that saves the motor vehicle, cars type things. That's not agriculture, we know that.
Well, farm trucks are.
Yeah, and I don't have, I understand, I don't have an issue with that, because I could see where he's going with that.
Yeah.
The other issue is not visible from the roadway. You know, I mean, I'm just scribbling this. Implements is another thing, because if you want to go sell a disc harrow or something like that,
Well, I'm not gonna put them down by the road anyways, because
I
it's,
know.
you know what I mean?
But the point is to keep everybody feeling that they're at the same level.
Can you explain what implements would mean?
The raker, the tedder, the
Okay.
disc harrow, the plow, cultivator, what do you call it, a post hole digger, anything that attaches to a tractor.
Right.
How long is this thing valid for?
This says December 31st, 2017.
Yeah, so this is only 6 months.
Yeah.
So every year you have to renew this?
Yeah, I put in for it a while ago, probably 4 months ago or so, 3 months ago. I mean, I don't need a license to sell the actual farm equipment itself. I mean, I can sell tractors and everything else without a title anywhere. You know, I'm just trying to get everything on board, and not trying to, you know, sneak something behind the town that don't know what I'm doing, so.
Yeah.
But,
Does the board want to table this till our next meeting, so you have an opportunity to talk to the other boards?
Well, plus I want to see what the, like Jim was saying, what the land will allow, the
So
zoning will
I'm
allow.
just want to make sure,
we get some of the other licenses in town for used motor vehicles that are on normal property.
I
You know,
understand.
I know there's handfuls of them everywhere, so I don't know, this would be any different than those.
Well, the legacies of the history in this town of errors is unbelievable. Now, we're dealing with one right now. It goes on all the time. We don't want to duplicate it. We want to make sure that you don't have to see us and we don't have to see you.
Bob, is this something that you could pull up history on other ones in town so we could look at? Because I'm not familiar with this for our next meeting, and then we can just get a little more information.
Okay.
That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah,
Think about the language of the license. If you can think of something.
I think that's the key, the language and what zoning says on here.
And also, are there any concerns regarding, I'm just thinking about older farm equipment in terms of soil contamination, oil, other types of, is that a concern at all?
No,
No?
it'd be the same thing as farm equipment I'd use
Oh,
on there. I went to the assessor's office and I went over all this with them first, and they said it was fine, so, you know, that's why I went through it before I went out and got the bond and all that. So,
So we got a meeting coming up in 2 weeks, so we can find out.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to table for 2 weeks, or table till next meeting?
I don't know if we need one, but
Yeah,
Well,
we just put it on the agenda for next week,
Yeah.
I mean, next meeting, and
Yeah.
we were fine.
next meeting.
Next week, too.
meeting.
Okay.
that's next week or the week after.
It's the
September.
12th of
Week after.
September in my book.
Charlie already talked about having a meeting,
Yeah.
additional meetings coming up.
Yeah, well, if you keep
You know
that up,
those
you're
are
going to have a
coming.
So we'll
meeting
get
every
some
other
more
night.
information.
Okay,
The 12th,
All
I
right.
think,
so
is what
the
it is.
12th?
The 12th, yeah.
Okay, do you guys need anything from me, or you just,
I would think of the language of the permit,
Licenses for this
myself.
kind of activity.
okay.
Try to make it more agricultural.
Inclusive, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it covers for titles for
And
trailers.
that's the reason why I'm
So
saying,
that's-
Yeah.
Okay,
okay?
okay,
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other permits or licenses? Seeing none, get ready, here we go. These are the warrants that have been signed. June 30th, 2017, W17-55 for $885,349.95. July 13th, 2017, PD 8-2 for $37,494.20. July 13th, 2017, P 18-2 for $177,355.99. July 20th, 2017, W 18-3, $164,627.21. July 27, 2017, P 18-4, $250,402.86. July 27, 2017, PD 18-4, $47,063.07. PD 18-8, 24, that's basically tomorrow, $219,163.84. And for August 22nd, PD 18-8, $40,090.15. That concludes all warrants that were signed by myself and representative of the town, representing the town. That was a month and plus. Moving to minutes approval. Minutes approval. June 6th, 2017, Board of Selectmen regular meeting. July 11th, 2017, Board of Selectmen regular meeting. July 18th, 2017, Board of Selectmen regular meeting. There was a modification this evening on one of the minutes, and I don't see it handily, for June 6th, 2017. It was basically a little grammar issue. No, I'm sorry, it was July 11th, 2017, 6 o'clock, annual appointments. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion we approve the June 6th, July 11th, and July 18th regular meeting minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Could I just ask what the amendment was, a revised version?
I can
Oh,
actually
you said
share.
it was just a grammar issue?
Yeah, it's basically
Okay.
this. If you
Okay.
look at the highlight, they actually expanded on it to make it more clear.
Yep.
It was so short before you couldn't understand what actually voted.
Okay,
That's all.
okay.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Next are the articles for fall town meeting. Is there any, these articles are basically just benchmarks to tell people or make people aware of requests that are coming. It's not something I'm looking that we need to have any major discussion on at this point. It's just basically, when we get into this next month, these are things that are sitting in front of us.
Should these be reflected in the minutes?
Yeah, you should be able to just, they can block and paste this and just put it in. I mean,
There is a change, though. The article transferring the 5,000 for the land survey, wasn't that reduced to
Yeah,
like
2,400.
$2,650 or something?
that'll change again.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
what'll happen is there'll be legal costs to deal with and stuff. These are really
Okay.
in motion,
Approximations, yeah.
yeah. So, Mike?
Yeah, they refused.
Michael Rosenberg, Finance Committee, 144 East Street. So the second Finance Committee article that we put forward was a change to Article 1, Section 1. Had to do with the coordination of the annual town meeting. Just trying to open the email. The annual town meeting and the town election. What the proposed article is doing is swapping the timeline between the two, putting the annual town meeting prior to the annual election, if there is one. The reason for that, it allows incumbents to participate in the town meeting that they worked for. It also helps in continuity. For instance, if the town clerk resigned and the moderator resigned, you would elect new individuals, and their first duty would be to run the town meeting. So it would be best to give them 360 days to prepare for that if there is a new individual in there. I did speak to Janine a little bit. There is a time constraint between the two, so I think I kept the language the same as it was, basically reverse them so they were 3 weeks apart. They may need to be 4 weeks apart. I just need to confirm that with her tomorrow. So I'll follow up and get the most time she needs between the two. Posting of election items or materials, if things change in the meeting. I didn't go over everything with her, but just having enough time to post things for the subsequent election if it were to happen after the town meeting. So if that's 30 days or 20 business days, I'm not sure, but just confirming that we give ourselves enough time with the proposed article. I know it's an article we talk about. It's an article that I know you brought up when you first started, your first meeting is the annual town meeting, and you're reading articles you didn't
The
necessarily.
longest ones I want to add.
Yes. It was perfect
That's
timing.
municipal hazing, I guess, right? This is a good article. We want to move it forward just because we suffer the same ills of it with you. I mean, the first meeting is the town meeting, so.
Yeah, Mike, I think
agree
we're
with
all in agreement with
But I
this.
also,
Yeah,
heard-
absolutely.
what is it, wasn't it like that in the past and it changed?
It was.
Why was it changed then?
There
don't
was
know.
some controversy. I do not recall what it was, but there was. There's also been the issues of having town meeting on Saturday versus having it in the evenings. There's been this,
Right.
if you take a look at the history of this, you'll see that over the years, things keep going, and everybody's trying to find the right formula, and no one seems to have really found the right formula with this thing.
So it's keeping with the same timeline, with the town meeting being on Thursday, and then election being on election Tuesday. We had it 3 weeks after. If it has to be 4 weeks after, we can
That was
Town
obviously.
meeting
going
was on
into
Tuesdays.
Memorial
I'm sorry?
Week.
Tuesdays. Town meeting was on Tuesdays.
Yeah, usually Tuesday,
So
Tuesday.
meetings the
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
Monday.
Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday, Monday?
Elections were on Monday, I thought.
Yeah.
Either way, we kept the same dates that were in the
If
article.
you
we
do
just
need an
moved them up.
extra length of time because of the span, you could, you're up to 3rd on Monday in May. 4th would be Memorial Day, so you wouldn't want that.
Just move it ahead of.
Correct. You can move, I mean, there are towns that have, their town meeting very early, earlier than we do annually, and I think it comes down to picking the date and the time, and if it's a approved article that can be voted on, that'd be great. I mean, it'd be a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So Bob, please add this to the list.
I thought it's on the list.
Well, there's one.
I thought you had, I think,
Just
the
put an
Finance
S.
Committee and the Selectmen were moving on the same track. And I think you had asked me to put this on.
Yeah, Jim signs it as the clerk.
Yeah, Charlie,
I'm sorry.
it's already on there.
It is?
I put it on a couple weeks ago, and I think when the Selectmen discussed it, amend town bylaws to have the town meeting occur at least 1 week prior to the town election.
Okay, so it's there. All right,
So we'll
So I will work with Janine on
adjust the time.
finalizing the date, and
Just the
yeah,
time.
and then once you get that, then we'll put it to town council, make sure that that doesn't conflict with something else we're not aware of.
exactly.
Yeah.
Election day is the first Monday in May.
Okay.
Really?
And then,
She said there's two of them
This
here.
town's
saying
election is
11.
the
They're
first-
here somewhere.
the town meeting is the third Tuesday or Thursday?
I don't. Bob, do you have the other minutes?
I didn't,
minutes to sign?
the other minutes, yeah, I
The
We had the
11th and the
11th.
18th, Belda says are
copied
here.
to Belda.
Well, in
not-
her notes to me.
Pardon? They're not in there?
No, the town meeting is
This
the
is
third.
July
We
11th.
have the 11th, and then we had the revised July 11th. I
I'll get
haven't
you a
seen the
copy.
Yeah,
18th.
we need the 18th.
After we adjourn, I'll get a copy, and while we're waiting
Well, we're
to-
gonna take
for-
a break
for
before
the
we go into
exec
executive
session,
session.
I'll
All right, Mike, I'm sorry to be, I'm sorry, I got
Sorry.
distracted.
It's fine.
This is what happens, Anyways, are we square?
Yeah, we're good with that.
All right, good. I guess there's no real discussion on any other articles, is there? I mean, and when you look at dollar amounts, just appreciate the fact that right now, these are just placeholders. This amount of money is gonna bounce back and forth. These articles might actually disappear depending on what occurs with stuff. But I wanted everybody to at least have an appreciation of just how many requests and activities there is out there.
just one item, I think we have to change the wording for the account for PEG monies. We cannot establish an enterprise, we'll establish a special account, not an enterprise fund.
All right. That's fine. We just know we have to put in a special account of some type, so. All right, if not, I'm gonna move into open time for the public if we're all set. I have to read my spiel. The Select Board reserves a portion of its meetings for public comment and encourages participation as follows. Open time is for time when residents can bring matters before the Select Board that requires a minimum of discussion and is not on the agenda. Key word is minimum. Please try to keep your comments short and to the point. plan on being allowed up to 5 minutes per person, not per topic, to speak on any meeting, at any meeting under open time only. It appears that the topic being discussed will consume longer than 5 minutes allocated, then, at the discretion of the chair, the matter will be placed on an upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting agenda. If you believe that your topic will require more time or deserves to make a more formal presentation than is allowed under these guidelines, please contact the town administrator to ask for it to be put on future agendas so that we can properly allocate enough time. You are free to ask questions or to make your points for all to consider. However, engaging in active debate with the Board of Selectmen or audience members will not be allowed. All comments and questions may be directed to the chair of the board. All remarks must be respectful, courteous, free of name-calling. Personal attacks and inappropriate language will not be tolerated. Hi.
That all being said,
yes,
I hope it was not specifically directed at me. However, I have been known to speak up. My name is Barbara LaFlamme, and I live at 20 Cook Road in Southampton. I would like to thank the Select Board for choosing to recognize the importance of the safety complex and being put it very high on your priority agenda for the upcoming year. The town of Southampton has a wonderful opportunity to put in place something that is very much needed and that I believe the town voters support. It did not pass at the last town meeting for various reasons. However, it deserves to be put at the top of the list, or certainly very close to the top of the list. And we have a wonderful opportunity to affect the center of our town, our historic district. I've heard a lot of discussion about what should we do with the old fire station. Will that affect what we do with the old town hall? And the possibilities for finding a totally different location that might be more suitable, so that we would have the opportunity to have 3 changes to the town of Southampton that would provide additional meeting space, which we seem to be short of. We're not accommodating our veteran services, and there are many other town bodies that are looking for places. I'm very pleased with what happens at the park. Would it be nice to have a venue in the center of town hall that would also allow music like we have in the park? Or I've heard talks of movies that are going to be shown in the park, but we don't have any winter venue for those kinds of activities. So I think we have opportunities to go in many directions. What I have noticed that has distressed me, and I haven't found the solution, is I've been looking for the minutes of the Public Safety Committee, and quite frankly, they're not there. And I think communication and involvement of the community is very important when you want to get a successful program before the public. So let me show you what I found on the computer, or didn't find. This is a list.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think the success of any program or project depends on the involvement of the community, which is communication. People are just curious. If there's not factual information out there, people begin to make assumptions. That's how rumors start. So anyway, I am asking that you see what you can do to bring this more to the public. That's all.
Barbara, just so you, first of all, I'm surprised, okay? Because I was spiriting all those records from, I don't know, let's say 2016 back.
Mm-hmm.
And between Bill Barkham and myself, we were doing the minutes. I think what's happened is they never made it to the town clerk and they never made it to posting. But I believe they still exist. So with this list that you gave me, I will ferret them out and get them up there. Thank you.
That would be very good, because I know people are behind it. I know they're interested, and I know they support it, just as you folks have kind of put it at the top of your priority list for the coming year. Communications, that's the key.
The last few meetings were done with Don Warren. I didn't participate in the minutes at all there, so I'll rattle Don's cage and find out what happened there.
Okay.
I know they
thank you.
exist, it's just they never got posted.
Well, I watched the meeting, the Select Board joint meeting on the 30th with the committee, and there seemed to be somewhat of confusion as to who was actually on the committee, who wasn't, who used to be.
Right.
And so...
That has been a difficult committee, because that's actually, this is now the third version of that committee.
Right. It's such a vitally important committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which begs the question I was going to bring up later is, when's the next meeting of the committee?
There is nothing posted.
We should post something, though.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What's happened is we rolled into summer months, and by rolling into summer months, everything's slowed down.
Who's going to schedule it? You will?
Be me.
Okay.
But I'm going to do it as a joint meeting, and the reason is, this full board wants to participate in that. So why don't we figure the 21st, whatever that next selectmen's meeting is after the 12th?
26th.
26th.
Well, we're gonna be busy with a warrant.
I understand that. Either that, or I'm gonna have to have a special one set up.
I'd rather you just have a special night.
Right.
I would be glad to have a joint meeting and a
All
special
right, then we'll
night.
have a special night.
Pizza?
That's a good idea.
Pizza, yeah.
No,
You
I
and
think-
that pizza thing.
I think we should, it's that important. I think if we just have that for the one item for that night, and it's a joint meeting, I think that'd be great.
All right, so then after September 12th, we'll try the following week to post something, okay?
Yep.
Tuesday night sort of seems to work for everybody.
That
So
week
I don't know
might
what
be
the
away.
date is, but
19th.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if it,
That week I'm away.
I don't know if it matters, but the 26th, I'm not going to be here.
Well, of course not.
It's,
He's going to see the eclipse again.
Again.
no, I've got Red Sox tickets.
Well, I got Red Sox tickets, but they're for Sunday.
I know, I just see it on the calendar. If you want to do it another night, I'm more than happy.
Well, the selectmen's meeting is the 26th.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do the select board meeting another night, I'm happy to,
Well, that's gonna be all the articles for
that's what I mean.
town meeting, so you wanna move that meeting to Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm fine with that if everybody else is.
Well, I would like to see, Charlie, is after we have the warrant complete, and then it's gonna open up our schedule between there and the town meeting.
Yeah.
So, once we have that done, then schedule it in.
So you wanna do the public safety committee thing after the 20?
Once we have the warrant done,
Well, that'll be
because
the-
we might have to have several meetings, that may get very busy, and I just didn't want to
Yeah.
crowd it in there.
Okay, but now we're talking about,
Well, you could do the 12th and the 19th.
Yeah, I'm away on the 19th,
Oh,
but
all right.
if, so long as other people can represent the select board on
Then you'd
the
have
public safety
even more
committee.
time.
yeah, Charlie and I
Tinker
are on
with,
it.
tinker with the
Yes,
articles
here.
if that's necessary.
So it looks like the committee itself has not met since May.
Correct.
But they met with us jointly, they just never put any.
Okay, so that wasn't put up there,
Right.
that's been since then.
So getting back to the 26th, do we want to schedule it on the 27th?
I don't
I
mind.
can't do the 27th.
You do the 28th?
No, that week, I have to leave town.
How about October
25th?
4th? October 4th, Wednesday, October 4th.
Well, no, this one we got to do for the town meeting.
Oh, I'm talking about,
We're talking about the 26th, September 26th.
The 26th, John cannot attend the meeting. That's the meeting we're going to decide the
the
town
warrants.
warrant.
About
So-
the 25th.
So if you want to have the meeting on Monday,
I can do the 25th, yeah.
25th it is?
I can do the 25th.
all right,
You good?
Very good.
mark it up for the 25th.
Thank you.
All right, September,
So now we're doing the 12th and the 25th.
You do the
oh,
25th?
Changing to the calendar and announcements that the meeting is gonna be the 12th and the 25th instead
Yeah.
of the 26th.
yeah. And then the Public Safety Committee, you want to have that between the 12th and the 25th? Or into,
I'd like to do October, like the 4th-ish or something like that.
okay, so October,
Does that seem good?
Public
to you, John?
Safety. I just need to know so I can post it. So that week, the first week of October.
Yeah.
All right. And when's the Selectmen's meeting in October?
We haven't
Haven't
scheduled
scheduled.
them yet.
Well, what would be the
Normally
The
be
normal cycle would, well, from the 26th to the 3rd, and it'd be the...
It'd be the 10th.
10th,
10th.
17th, and then the 24th.
So the 3rd,
Now, the 3rd would be the in-between week, and
Right,
then
and the
the
10th,
10th.
and then the,
so it'd be the 10th.
and then
So
the
the
special
thir-
meetings, the 17th.
So the week of the 3rd would work for the Public Safety Committee.
Yes.
Correct.
All right. All right, got it.
So
I hope everyone else did.
It's fine.
Okay?
So October 3rd, not the week of the...
Well,
just
that
go
week
to the-
anyway. Okay.
Got it.
Okay?
Put that in the minutes, Bob, so we got it straight.
All right, that said, we have one more person for open time, I believe. Two more people for open time.
Tammy Walunas, 298 College Highway. I don't know if you guys can answer this question. Pomeroy Meadow Road, coming up to College Highway, up to Opa Opa. The median right there has trees growing in it. Is that section part of the town's responsibility? Is that part of College Highway, the state? Can we say, safe routes to school, you're coming through and cleaning all this up, can you whack those trees out of there?
About the island?
The island.
I do not know where the boundary is between town property and the state property relative to that.
Because I know they always say it goes so far.
But because we're meeting at the North School this Thursday at 2 o'clock with DOT, you'll have them in hand to ask them.
Thursday, 2 o'clock.
How big are these trees?
Yeah.
They're 2-3-year-olds,
I mean,
Like
Yeah.
an inch or half inch?
and over an inch.
can't we
They're
just
big.
I
clip?
never,
Yeah, I don't think I've.
I'm like,
I
you
never
know,
noticed
never
it.
noticed them.
there's several, but there's a big one there.
We're not disputing you, we just don't remember seeing a tree there, which goes to show when we drive down the road, nobody should get in front of us.
It's just something that, we see, tag sale signs there and stuff, and it's like, what? There's a tree growing there.
It's the island you're talking about,
Yeah,
where it
it's
says
in
keep
the island.
right and all the rest of that, and
Yeah.
the sign says Pomeroy Meadow
Where
Road.
the sign says, keep right, but you
Yeah.
don't see it, and people go to the left?
Yeah,
Yeah, there.
that's because of the trees.
Okay.
Tammy, I got it.
Thursday, 2 o'clock in Norris.
Yeah, that's when DOT is meeting on Safe Routes to School. They'll be there, so they will have the actual layouts. That'll tell us where the property line is.
Do we have a rule on repeat customers?
I never made the agenda, so I had to come under new business.
He never made the agenda.
Michael Rosenberg, Finance Committee. Classification and compensation plan review. So we were going to review that in September. September's getting very booked. And when we originally talked about it, we talked about having a separate meeting just because of how long it could go.
All right.
Just
what-
throwing that out there. A date isn't set in September, but
I have it on the draft agenda for the 12th.
okay.
But given what we're seeing on the
Yeah.
12th, I agree with Mike. What's the following week?
be the,
Vacation is over.
Yeah, vacation is gone.
19th, looks good.
19th?
Yep.
Yeah,
Want to have a special selectmen's
is
meeting
there another day
19th?
that week that could work? I'm not here that day.
What day are you here?
And I think the
Because you're
rest
going
of
to
them-
say one thing, John's going to tell me
I
something
know,
else.
well, let's see.
We happen to enjoy our lives, I'm sorry.
Monday, Wednesday,
The 20th?
either the 18th. Mondays are generally good. But I mean, if three of you can make it, I'll just catch up, I guess.
Oh, actually, this needs to be us, Personnel Board, and the Finance Committee. That's why when Mike brought this up, I agreed with him, because I think we need to have a separate night just for this.
Because it's planning board.
I'll buy the pizza.
So are we
Is
talking
the,
18th, 19th?
Let's regroup here.
Is that the typical night that the
Usually brings them in.
PB would usually meet?
So what
They
day
usually
do we
meet on
want?
Monday, every other week, right?
They meet Wednesday or Thursday at PQP.
Yeah, Wednesday or Thursdays.
I can't meet on the 20th.
All right.
It's planning
18th or
board.
19th? Does it work? Which works?
18th works, then that's Monday? That's a Monday, right?
Right.
Yes, I can do that.
18th would work for me.
18th it is.
And that's usually when PPP meets, right?
Well, then they can meet jointly with us.
I don't know if that's on the, that's the,
Well, we'll just let them know. At least they got plenty of lead time with this. It's not
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah.
Bob, would you notify all the boards, just so that everybody's on the same page?
Okay.
and
All right.
remember, I have the notebook on that.
Solar pilot
I'll get it
program.
back to you by when.
for the
Okay.
solar development in town. Where are we in the
Councilor, wanna look
negotiation
at it?
process? Have we
No,
started?
we
Are
have-
we
Electronic copy.
reviewing this?
I think that's up to them to come to us, and they haven't.
Okay, because we've just been asking to see the status of it because it, something that happened last year, special town meeting, I think. It was voted that we could negotiate. I know the Board of Assessors sent a proposed pilot program to you. I just didn't know if any conversation had started that we're aware of.
Nothing I'm aware of.
I asked the Board of Assessors earlier today, and they weren't aware of anything, so
If I
I'm just
remember,
curious.
I think the town meeting gave the select board authorization to enter into negotiations,
Right.
but they haven't come forward with that yet. So
Okay.
the payment in lieu of taxes, I believe that program.
And that was sitting out there. There was a court case that got settled that set a precedence, but I don't remember what that was about either.
So, yeah, I think the ball is in their court, if I remember right.
Okay. Next, I had town meeting complaint. So we had talked about the annual town meeting, the article that I proposed. I was told that there was an outreach for clarification on the legal precedence of that, whether it was correct, not correct, if it was wrong. I've been told that we've discussed it with council. I've heard the AG's office. I'm curious to the status of the request of that.
The feeling I got from council, and it was open discussion, not anything formal, was that because the meeting had adjourned, it didn't seem to be of any merit to go any further with it. So the issue was dropped.
Okay, thank you for the update.
That
This
was-
is my fourth request for information on that.
That was my understanding of it.
Okay.
And, no,
Just, I want to make sure everything's clear. I mean, we're asking because it's something that affects everyone, and thank you for getting an
it's
answer.
sort of like what happened when we had a vote that didn't have the right percentages and all the rest of that, but the town meeting closed.
Right.
So it's like, you can't easily revisit it, so it was like, okay.
Correct.
The AG will generally veto substance of articles that are in violation of statute or constitution and so forth. But parliamentary procedure, if it's not followed properly, can be called at the meeting, but once you close the meeting, any improper parliamentary procedure is final.
Okay. I'm just curious, because it's good to see it come full circle. It was brought up in this meeting as a possible issue. It was moved forward to investigate as a possible issue, so just to clarify that there is no possible issue with it.
No, other
Okay.
than the fact that we need to do better next year,
Of course.
that's all.
Utility contracts. I asked the question in an email about contracts over 1 year. Are those power purchase agreements exempt from those? for a municipality to enter into a multi-year contract like those? I'm assuming they are, I'm just curious.
I don't know. I frankly don't know.
Okay, well, we entered in a multi-year contract, so that's why I'm asking the question.
The regulation generally is we can go up to 3.
Okay.
Above 3, we have to go to town meeting.
Okay, what was the most recent?
3.
Okay, it was.
That was
okay.
3, yeah.
All right. And then the previous one was 3 years as well?
I think so.
We're not doing any more than 3 because it's
Okay.
clear to all the departments that we have to go to town meeting if we do any kind of agreement more than 3 years.
Okay. Thank you. I am going to reach out, I guess, to the finance team to review the finance procedures of the town. So we referenced a document in the auditor's response. We referenced a financial procedures and policies book. John, you probably worked on it when you were on the finance committee. We had never actually finalized that procedures and policies book, so it was sent around for comment to departments about a year ago from the finance committee. We've never received any response, so we feel it's kind of important to come full circle with that again, finalize the policy that we're referencing in auditor responses. It'd be a good thing. So there is no lead to the finance team. I mean, I guess the town administrator would maybe be considered that, but that's who was working on the actual policy and procedure book for that. So I'm going to throw out an email to everyone to meet to try to reinvigorate that and get it going again, because it's, if we're referencing it in a legal document, we should make sure that everything's copacetic with that. Liaison. So we haven't had any liaison presence at our meeting, and I know it's the summertime. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't be there. People are busy. If you're not able to make the meetings, I would just ask that you participate in other committees. I mean, I talk to Charlie a lot, too much. So if we're not going to have liaison representation in our committee, then I would just ask that our liaisons be put to other committees in town that they might be able to participate on, if there's conflicts or things.
Actually, that's our fault, Jim and I.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Can you copy us on the minutes and everything? We don't.
They're all posted online. You can sign up for the.
Send the minutes out to the committee. I'm not copied. You're not copied, are you? No. Can you copy us? That way we'll automatically know when the next meeting is.
You can subscribe to the meeting announcement.
I know, but why not get a copy of the minutes if we're on the committee? That's what I'm asking. You
Sure.
send it out to the committee members, correct?
Yes.
Can you send it out to us too?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you copy me on the select board minutes? And email me those?
You did that, Bob, when you sent them out?
I mean, it's not confrontational, Mike. It's just, it'd be nice if you could do it. You want representation. We're just asking you, when you send it out, to copy us. That's all.
Sure.
I mean, it's not tit for tat or anything.
So after
It's,
great.
being a smartass about it, that's not needed.
I've stood up here and heard members of the select board say the same exact thing to other individuals about subscribing to meeting minutes.
So.
If you're unable to participate somewhere else, and I can deal directly with the chair. That's not an issue. We just have questions from people. Where are our liaisons? Why are they not here? Why are they not participating? Why are we discussing things?
I think I've been copying you on a lot of stuff.
Well, we do. We go back and forth. That's why if it's easiest for me and you to be the conduit between the two, that's
but
fine.
I don't want to be the liaison to every department and committee in this town, because there's just no way, it just isn't going to happen.
I made a note that we'll copy the FinCom on select board minutes after they're approved.
Okay.
And I really should copy the whole board, not just one member, even the chair. I think we, should copy everybody on the finance committee.
I mean, we don't re-email our finalized minutes. So we only email draft and then finalized or approved and posted. So.
Do you email members of the committee the next meeting coming up and all that?
No, we schedule our scheduled meetings are scheduled at our previous meeting. So we always schedule the next meeting and then.
Yeah, so we just did the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
No, that is it. Thank you.
Well, you have a pleasant remaining summer. Because now Virginia wants to take my head off or something.
No. I have a request.
Yes, ma'am.
Virginia A. Hart, 27 Fulmer Road, Chair of Community Preservation in this case. You've got a lot of meetings coming up in October, and if I could ask someone to give me a list of those, because one of the things that community preservation has to do, and it has to be done fairly early in October, is hold our public hearing. That is by the law.
It shouldn't be a problem for Bob to bounce you a list of the email
Yeah,
meetings.
if I could have that list of all the meetings, then we can avoid your meetings.
Right.
So we can have our, and at that time, I want to kind of make a little plug. At that time, projects for the next year may be submitted. So if you've got anything that you need for the special, I need to know it before the first Wednesday so we can vote on it.
My intention is to give you a couple of applications relative to the old town hall.
Yeah.
So,
And
yes.
yeah, if they need to be on, they need to be worked on in September.
Right. Give me a couple of weeks. I've just, as you know, returned.
I know. But in October, we'll be asking for, looking at our whole, what we know is going to be on coming up. Not that you can't add anything. Some committees in some towns say you have them in here or you don't get them for the next year. But we don't do that. We take things as they come up. But we do have this for people that have a project that they would like to get into the works.
Just to know, I have tried numerous contractors to get a number of quotes for the double doors in the front of this building. I get assured that I'm going to get these quotes. I have never seen one quote yet. Now that I'm back, I'm going to start again. I don't know if the project's too small for somebody or what, but we got to get those doors so that they're weather tight for this winter.
Yeah. Well, I know that was one you had. And because it is a historic building, we can do that and it's an access thing. There's no problem from our end. But I've got to have.
Yeah, you got to have something to be able to,
I have to know the dates so that we don't conflict with one of your meetings.
The handicap door got ripped off the back of this building a couple of weeks ago.
That door right there. Yeah, that door right there.
That door right there.
The main door.
Yeah.
Did we get a bill for that?
Not yet, that I'm aware of.
Handicap.
Right.
I called the contractor who originally installed that door. Jim came out and he dismantled more than, you dismantled part of it, he dismantled more of it. The unit went on.
Possibly have done that.
Randall did.
Yeah. What? Randall did, okay.
Because if I flew back from Alaska to just assemble
No,
a
no,
door
no,
here,
no.
I've really got a
We
problem.
put the unit on the floor. I called the contractor. He came on a Thursday. I was not here. We left instructions. He restored it and has not given us a bill that I am aware of.
Well, he has my personal cell phone and that. I haven't heard a word from him, other than giving you his direct contact stuff. That was
I
it.
met with him on Thursday when he was here, and he was the actual person that installed it. Has never seen one come off the wall like that. And we discussed how he would move forward and remount it. And he left and came back, I believe, on Monday with the proper items to fix it properly.
Yeah, I was here. It was not that detailed a repair.
Okay, but I just...
We can't pay for repairs.
No, I want you not to, I don't want you damaging doors in town.
What do you mean? Anyway.
Anyways, but...
As far,
Yeah,
we don't want to conflict with you, so.
okay. It was good seeing you, Virginia.
And so if I can have those.
Yeah. Anything else for open time for the public? Barbara, you all square?
I'm happy.
All right.
I'm a happy camper.
Board, going to move this into executive session. Okay. Chair moves this into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 22, Item 3, 6, and 6. There's 3 items. Discussion of relative to collective bargaining litigation, if any open meeting would determine an effect on bargaining and litigation positions for a public body, and the chair so declares, which he does. Let's see, and there's 2 of those like that. Then to consider purchase, exchange, lease of value of real estate if the chair declares an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body, and the chair declares both on Newcastle parcel and Frank Wayne parcel on College Highway. Do I hear a roll call vote?
Labrie, aye.
Martin, aye.
Konecki, aye.
Roden, aye.
We are now in executive session.